right, hello and welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We are back to playing deltagreen tonight, and I am angry because they've done nothing
today.
I am very angry. They have brought up so many topics before during our little warm up before we go live.
That you brought up some of the topics yourself.
Listen, correcting me also makes me angry. Don't you know that? I told them that their fate is tied to the fate of the Dodgers, who are playing right now in Game 5.
If you could change your
San Diego Padres. If you could change your fate, would you? It's so ridiculous. Anyhow, so yeah, we're playing deltagreen tonight. We're down Maitre because of some Canadian holiday. Like, they ripped Thanksgiving off for us, and now she's doing.
But they got the date wrong.
I know.
How'd they fuck it up that bad?
Okay, yeah, but she's got some moonshine. I think she's doing good.
This is true.
Do y'all know who invented Thanksgiving in Canada? Come on.
Oh, I remember it when this was.
I say the same thing. Well done, the Americans that moved to Canada.
It was good. We used to talk about this a lot at our Thursday night game over on Garblag when old Matty Two Arms was a GM, and he's Canadian, as we all know. Miss old Matty Two Arms, but yeah, Martin Frobisher is the name that pops up.
What a name,
Martin Frobisher. So yeah, it was a whole thing way back in the day, back when we were doing I think that was back in the Auction Cthulhu days, back when we were playing that. So we had some fun ribbing. There always seems to be a Canadian, and there's a Canadian every one of our games. If you think
we collect them, I think
we do.
You know,
we got my trade holds down Monday, Kipser holds down Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then my trade's back again on Friday. One of the Fridays, Kipser has the other Friday, and then my trade's got Saturday.
They just strap in. They're like, "Hey, girl, it's your turn."
So many Canadians. I mean, really, it's just two Canadians.
Two Canadians. Yeah.
But they got a lot of energy because they keep showing up in these games. Anyhow, if you know any Canadians that up in, I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. You guys want to play this game? We ready to go?
Uh-huh.
You excited?
Let's do it.
All right. I don't really have what?
Break.
I said, what are we playing?
Playing Break.
Oh yeah,
we're playing Break, and the campaign is called Deltagreen. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, I don't really have a summary prepared. So let's just go ahead and sort of do a quick little recap. You all are in Kingman, Arizona, agents of G-Cell. You have been tasked by your handler, Lyda Hall, to come up here and dig into some strange satellite photos of the Sighing Desert that showed an old Majestic facility. Majestic being kind of a very nefarious precursor to some deltagreen kind of programs and stuff. I won't get into the full details of it, but basically a very nervous facility that kind of pops up and disappears and popped up and disappeared. And then this also coincided with a few missing hikers from ASU who, one of them is connected to a congresswoman, and there's been kind of this media frenzy going on. And you all came here with as FBI agents, effectively tasked with kind of helping with the investigation. And eventually, that led you all to look into a man by the name of Enrique Navarro, who was something of a new age guru who had experiences when he was a child. Him and his mother who kind of disappeared into the desert and then reappeared. He did anyway. She passed. And then people over the years have kind of taken his experiences and turned it into this thing that needs to be recreated. And so some people have tried to recreate these visions he had of this city in the desert that just kind of popped up on the horizon. And so some people have just disappeared in this dehydrated state. Others have taken LSD, peyote, and various other drugs. And so you all decided, hey, let's do that. So a couple of you got up on peyote. You all decided to disappear into the desert. One thing led to another, and you went through portals and shifts of sunlight and twilight in a storm of sand, and you disappeared in this cave with this giant cave painting that made no frickin' sense because it showed buildings from all sorts of different eras, despite the fact that it looked like it was something that was thousands and thousands of years old. And all of you, one by one, in different ways, made your way to this hill where a bonfire was lit, and there was a figure with a cow's skull for a head, asking you if you essentially wanted to transport to this place, right? 3 of you initially said yes, 2 of you initially said no. So Inferno and Troper said no, you wandered away. But while the 2 of you were wandering and trying to take shelter in a cave, you ran into some folks that you now probably suspect are Breckenridge, because you saw some of their branded logoing and stuff like that. And you know that Breckenridge is tied with March Technologies, and March Technologies is like kind of the inheritor of a lot of Majestic stuff. So Inferno and Tropa, you had this like tense standoff for a moment. You played dumb, and damn did it work. Like, they definitely believed that you all were dumb. They eventually left you. You tried to chase after them once you saw the 3 of them were trying to go through this little bonfire thing as well. And Chopper broke her leg in the process. When you got up there, you did manage to also kind of transport over. And that's the last we saw of Inferno and Chopper. They basically arrived at the city. Everybody else, Price, Weaver, and Carr, were traveling through this crazy city, saw all sorts of different things. Weaver especially saw her childhood home that looked pristine and perfect, and then found some weird kind of statue-looking version of her Aunt Vivian buried in sand in a playground nearby, and this matched the same kind of stone figures that you saw elsewhere. One of them matched Alex Karras, the son of the Congresswoman. Another one looked like it was a person from a Majestic facility that you've heard about, Cartwright. And then finally you saw a radar dish. You went inside this facility. You had some weird moments where you were seeing shadows and strange things, and you kind of got called at one point by a figment of Inferno down a hallway, and that led you to... Well, it led you to Ronnie's, your old handler's, Ronnie's apartment back in North Carolina. And you went inside. It smelled like smoke and char. You saw weird shadows on the wall that shouldn't have been there. Weaver did some weird thing with her camera, and she actually saw what looked like your old pal Ronnie, and like on the couch with who we know now is probably Penny. But if you were unfamiliar, that was Agent Ray, who died back in North Carolina. And then when you went to check out his like where he had kind of kept some of his hidden stuff in his bedroom, Carr found a welcome home kind of mat for the Delaney's, opened the door and realized it wasn't a closet, but it was a bedroom. And rocking in a chair right next to a crib was Anne Delaney. And she looked up at you and she just says, "Welcome home." And that was as best as I can remember. Hopefully that was pretty good. But we're not going to start with you all, because we got to start with Long. Inferno, you have been you and Agent Chopra, you made it through on your own. When you first got here, you saw this interstitial, ever-shifting city, and you saw like a mix, basically, of both like time-specific locations. You see like these old huts, you see these skyscrapers, you see these suburban homes, you see all these types of things. And both of you have periodically seen these figures on the edges of your vision, often on the outskirts of the city, as if they're like following you and tracking you. Once or twice you've managed to get a moment of clarity when looking at them, and you see this almost bat-like face. But they are bipedal. They look like humans if you don't squint. Inferno, you've been kind of carrying Chopra, or at least been helping her along. She has a splint for her broken leg, but she's been in a lot of pain. You are somewhat high, as you had to pop some pills that the Breckenridge folk had. And so the 2 of you have been traveling for a bit. And then we'll say it could have been an hour, could have been 3. It's hard to really say for certain. But what you can say for certain is that you're standing right now in what looks like a jumble of partially drawn suburban homes and strip malls, and then this periodic ancient hut that just happens to be sitting in between some of these homes. And you look up and you can see that there is a faded and weathered restaurant standing in front of you. Your feet are on concrete, like asphalt, like a parking lot. You don't see any cars. You can see that the restaurant sign is hanging at a very odd angle. And as you're looking at it, it seems to basically display gibberish rather than any. It's like you're not even sure if those are real symbols or insignias or anything like that. But right as your eyes are about to leave that sign and look at something else, everything just starts to shift and move on that sign until you finally see a legible word. Pizzeria. The windows are cloudy, and they seem to be covered in film or grime or frosted or something like that, so you can't clearly see inside. What do you do, Agent Inferno?
It looks and feels like home, Chopra. But I don't remember going home. I'm a bit hungry, but let's grab a slice.
Okay.
I'll walk in.
You walk in. When you go inside, I'll say there's like one of those sort of like double doors. Like the door goes in, and then you're in this kind of vestibule, and then there's a second door, and then you kind of go into it. When you get through the first set, and you can see it's like this place where people would sit and wait with like a buzzer in their hand to be seated. And you can see very familiar like tchotchkes and things like hanging from the wall. You see photos and things like that, but the photos themselves are sort of blurred out as if the details are missing. But you recognize like a frame here. You recognize what looks like some sort of like New Jersey devil pennant over here. Like it's all very familiar to you in some ways. And when you look through the second set of doors, which are glass and they are not filmy, you can see what appears to be like a restaurant filled with water. Like the entire thing. It's like you're looking into a fishbowl. Except the chairs and the tables are exactly where you would expect them to be. They're on the ground. Nothing's kind of floating around. People are moving, as there are people inside. They're moving kind of in this slow motion. Some of them are eating pizza. Some of them are talking. Others are pouring drinks. Anybody who has long hair, you can see the hair is just kind of drifting up here and there. And you see people moving about as if they're serving or they're getting up and moving, going to the bathroom, that kind of thing. What would you like to do?
Just instinctually, mama, I'm home sort of deal.
So you call in. When you open the door of the second set of doors to call in, it's not like water just crashes down on you. It's just you still see this film in front of you. It's just right there. It's like somehow it's not pouring on you. And as you call in, you can see this blurry image of a woman behind a counter over by the kind of the kitchen area. And you can see her arm very slowly goes up and kind of waves to the side and back to the side.
I get a slice of pepperoni.
And then you see her, she kind of beckons you, and then she turns around, and all of this is, again, slow motion. And you're calling across, and there's a couple folks in between you and her who are kind of looking up, and some of them wave or some of them nod. Some of them don't really even acknowledge you other than looking up at the sound. Everything just seems to be moving very, very slowly. And she turns around and like she's pulling a plate off of, off from like the delivery window between kitchen and where like she would grab it to deliver to customers. Do you go inside?
Yeah, I'll enter.
Okay. The whole time, like, you've been hearing like the sound of Chopra's voice behind you or next to you, but none of it quite crystallizes. Like, it all is kind of vague to you. But you push in and you feel yourself like moving slowly. Like, it's not to the point where you feel like you're swimming necessarily, but you do feel like a sluggishness to your movements. And as you're making your way to this counter where you think you see your mother, you start to see the faces, these very clear faces of people in these booths and at these tables that are looking up at you. And they're like taking a bite of like a garlic knot or a slice, or they're taking a sip from what looks to be some kind of like frosted Coca-Cola glass, right? You see a man in a uniform, a police uniform, middle-aged African-American man, somewhat heavy set. You can see his hat is off and is on the side, kind of balding, And he kind of looks up at you as you walk past him and takes a bite. You can see that as you pass by the next table, you see a very young blonde woman, maybe in her early 20s. She's got a hat on, and she's got like a colorful, like orange, like emergency jacket on. And she just kind of looks at you, and you see these big eyes as she's just washing past, like she's really taking you in. You see a booth right next to her as you pass by that table, where you see two more women. One of them is another younger woman in her 30s or so, brown hair, tied back tight to kind of like a ponytail, glasses, and she's wearing nurse's scrubs. And sitting across from her at the booth is a woman that's much older. You would probably peg her late 40s, maybe early 50s, short hair. You could tell, like it's not like worn short, it's just short. Very tan skin, kind of leathery. And you can see that she's got this U.S. Navy t-shirt just kind of rippling across her chest, across the seat, across the booth from the younger one. And then as you get right up next to where your mother is you think it's your mother, turning and giving you this plate, you see another booth, this time with two men. One of them is, well, you recognize him. He's a partner back in Miami many years ago at this point. Collins, maybe? Name is sort of like vaguely in your memory somewhere. Middle-aged man or so, suit, Caucasian. And you can see sitting across from him, it's a 50-something man. You can tell Cuban, wearing handcuffs, but eating pizza. And you recognize him as the man that you and Collins brought to Hypoluxo several years ago. And it's at that point that Collins kind of looks up at you and does kind of like a little two-finger salute off of his like right eyebrow. And when you look back up, you can see your mother, and where the kitchen is, it feels to be like twice as long, twice as far away as it was moments ago. And you also feel like a very, very odd sort of a spotlight in the middle of this restaurant, like this like circular glow where the recesses are very dark. What are you do, Inferno?
Nod back to Collins. After this break, we'll lock him up. Look at the other people in the booth.
His mouth moves very slowly. You see the bubbles drift up from them, but you can't hear anything. When you look and follow like the bubbles, you can see above you, there is no ceiling to this place. You remember seeing a roof when you were outside with Chopra, but you don't see a ceiling. Instead, it almost looks like you are looking up from the bottom of a swimming pool, like you are submerged in a swimming pool and you are looking up towards the surface. And you can see a familiar face, another one, leaning over the edge, kind of peering down. And in between these ripples of water, you make out who it is. It is Weaver, looking down at you. And her face is very, very close to the surface. What would you like to do?
Weaver, I'm coming. I'm trying to swim myself up to the surface.
So you swim up, and like you can see like her arm is kind of leaning down and begins to break the surface, like she's reaching a hand to pull you up. And you're slowly swimming up, but as you do, you feel something tugging at you. And you look down and you can see Collins, your old partner, has a hand on your foot. You can see Romero, the man that you two had arrested. You can see he's moved his handcuffs in a way so that he can grab your other foot. And you're just reaching up, and you see this hand coming down from above. What do you want to do?
Fight towards the hand. Try and grab it.
Okay. Give me a strength times 5 roll.
Not a swimming roll? Just kidding.
If you have swim, you can do it, but this is more about just pure strength.
Starting with a crit success 44.
Okay. Ooh. You break free, and you can just kind of kick away, and you feel your hand come in contact with Weaver's, and you just kind of cling onto it for a second. And you look back down, you see Collins, you see Romero kind of floating back down. And it feels like the floor of this place is so far away. And then Weaver, when you look back up at her, you can see her face is just like in this constant state of aging. It's just getting older and older and older. And then you feel this tug once more from below. You look down and there is your mother kind of pulling at you, but you're able to kind of keep yourself loose. And then there's this big splash from above. And you look and you see Weaver has fallen into this pool. And she kind of starts swirling around a bit and diffuses into this big oily blackness all around you. And you're just like thrashing and kicking in it. And it takes like a good 5 seconds before you can't see anything anymore. It's just this black, dark, thick water. Give me a sand test.
Yikes.
47 failed.
Okay. Do you want to push this off? This is unnatural.
Do I get to know how much I lose first, or?
Yeah, I'll let you know. Okay.
Are you close to a breaking point?
Yeah, I'll probably break here.
2. It'd be 2.
Okay. I'll just take it and break.
You're going to break intentionally?
Yeah, I just get like a disorder from it, I think.
Okay. Yeah, and don't forget, you're also literally submerged in water, which is your what's it called? So you're going to be suffering. Yeah, so you're going to suffer essentially right now because it's 2 that you're losing, and you're literally encountering your hydrophobia right now. So with that in mind, are you still okay with that?
Yeah.
How much willpower do you have?
1. Like I wouldn't.
That's fair.
Spend it, or else
yeah. Yeah, it's not an option.
Okay. So in that case, you feel like this blackness get bigger and bigger until you can no longer see anything of the restaurant. And then it begins to just surround you. You start to feel things kind of grabbing you, and you can feel things wrapping around a leg or an arm, or, you know, like, and just feels after a point that you're drowning, and you're drowning, and you're drowning. And then all of a sudden, all the blackness goes away, and you see the face of Chopra above you. She's covered in water and like dripping what looks like seaweed at this point, like just staring down at you. You can see her head is just retreated, like she's been giving you CPR. And you just kind of look up and you see her face. She's got these little like seashells and bits of kelp in her hair. You can see like there's stuff moving about in it, like she has just been swimming in like a cesspool. And like she shouts out to you, but you are so far away at your brain, like you are just like in this moment of pure like insanity as like this breaking point hits you. So I'm going to say, as you look around left and right, you realize you are in the parking lot that you were just in. Asphalt is on your back, and it just looks like above you there is this huge thunderstorm cloud that's kind of forming, and you can just in slow motion see all this rain pouring down on you. We're going to go ahead and we're going to cut from there for now.
Oh my gosh.
And we're going to go over to the rest of you. Last we saw, you all opened the door, said welcome to the Delaney's or something like that. Or I think it just said the Delaney's, excuse me. You open the door. You think it's a closet. It's not. It's a small bedroom, high-backed wooden chair next to an empty crib. You see Anne Delaney. You recognize her immediately from the photos. You can see that she is alive. You see that she's awake. She looks severely malnourished. And you can tell that she might be in shock as well. But she looks up at you. Welcome home. And I'm going to say all three of you are there. If you want to be. What would you like to do?
Miss Delaney.
Call me Anne. Call me Anne. It's okay. Miss Delaney is my mom.
Yes, Anne. We've been looking for you. We need you to follow us.
I don't want to be any trouble. I don't want to be any trouble.
And Car will kind of look to Weaver, kind of like see if we can each get on one side of her.
What do you mean you don't want to be any trouble?
I don't want to be any trouble.
What happens if you're trouble?
I don't want to be any trouble.
And is there anyone else here? Anyone nearby?
Mike?
Mike is here?
No, Mike? And the three of you would recognize utter shock. Like, she seems to be delirious. One of you could make a psychotherapy roll to see if you could help talk her out of this condition and get her a little bit more capable of conversing.
I've got a big 11 on that, so I'd be happy to make the roll.
I've got 34.
Oh, very good.
You've got
very
the
good.
most. I've got 30.
Okay, Car.
Yeah, I've been able to get mine up a little bit. I'm going to... okay, I rolled a 2.
Oh, fantastic. So she kind of settles in on you, your voice, Car. Like, all three of you have been asking her questions or saying something to her. Like, Weaver, you've been asking her about the trouble. Price, you immediately start, asking her about who, like, you're being kind of forceful. But Car simply asks if you're okay. And maybe that was enough to kind of get her to focus on Car. And she just says, no, I don't know where he is. I'm very tired. And you can see as you look at her that her lips are very cracked and dry. You can see her skin is very parched, like she's been out in the sun, like it's very, very reddish and it's peeling. You can tell she's not in great shape. I haven't seen anyone in a while. Not for a while.
Okay.
Nick was... We were hiking.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kept finding these mazes. And we kept walking them. And then the GPS stopped working. And then the watches and our phones stopped working. We tried to make it back, but we couldn't find our way home. Emily, did you find Emily?
I don't... We're just going to worry about you for right now. And she's going to, kind of have her hands just kind of up as she kind of tries to come around to her side and see if we can kind of get closer to her. I imagine Car would have some water on her to offer her.
She'll take it. If you offer it, she'll take it. She's just kind of very weakly. You can tell she's very like physically weak right now from exhaustion and dehydration. But she takes it. She takes a couple sips, and she just kind of looks at the three of you. I haven't seen, and this is directed at Price. Mike, he just disappeared. Just poof. Disappeared. And not like Emily. Emily, we saw her one night, and then she wasn't there in the morning. We looked for her, but we couldn't find her. And Jeremy wanted to keep looking for her, but Nick wanted us to get home to get help. And Mike always agreed with what Nick said, so we tried to go back. And then we found another maze. And then Mike walked it. And then he went poof. In thin air. But we were looking right at him. And he just poof, right in front of us. Just gone.
It's been a lot. You've been through a lot. Can we get you up?
I'm okay. So she says, like, I'm okay, but still, like, puts her arm up to be kind of pulled up.
And Car will kind of help her up.
And after Mike disappeared, you kept looking. You got to the city, right?
Right. We saw the city. It was on the horizon, and Jeremy and Nick, they wanted to go and get help. So we came here. And then...
Did you see what happened to Nick?
We got separated when we got to the city. It was abandoned. It's abandoned. And Jeremy thought he heard Mike's voice, so he went one way. And then we didn't see him again for a while, and then Nick and I were together. We saw these scary people. We looked terrified. Statues. We were looking at them, and then this woman, she just came out of nowhere. But she was smiling at me. I knew that she didn't want to hurt me. But Nick didn't realize that. So he got in between me and the woman, and then the woman stopped smiling, and Nick screamed, and then the next thing I knew, Jeremy was back. He grabbed my arm and we started running.
The smiling woman, did she look like this? And I'm gonna show her a picture of Elizabeth.
Who?
The hag woman, basically, the picture that we had. Salmon.
Oh, from North Carolina?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
she
good.
was.
What'd she look like?
She was indigenous, I think. Wallapai, maybe. She dark hair and a smooth face, not like this. Just kind of like just looking at you all, eyes just kind of darting between each of you.
And what do you say that we get you out of here? We get you back to your parents.
My parents are here?
We're going to take you to them. It's not too far. We just have to get you walking. We'll be able to walk to them.
But I already saw the sign. I already saw the street sign, and I saw the house, and this is my room. So is it
right? Your parents aren't home right now. We're going to take you where they are. So we have to leave. We're going to get you walking.
But it seems pretty safe right here.
Do you know the garden?
What?
Okay, never mind. And then at that point, Lisa's just gonna kind of shake her head and just turn to look back out the door, intending to go back to where we were with where the satellite stuff was. So back through Frank Ryder's room.
Is there another way forward?
There's only one door in this room. It's the one you came in.
Let's get you out of this room.
Huh?
As he said, your parents aren't home. Your parents were looking for you. So we need to take you to them.
Me?
Yes.
I don't want to be in any trouble.
What does that mean?
I just don't want to be in any trouble.
All right, we don't have time for this. Grab an arm and let's get her going.
I've got her. If you want to take the other side, easy though, easy.
What?
Let's get you out of this room.
What? Okay, you're just gonna take me to my parents?
We're taking you to your parents.
Exactly.
Yes. We need to get walking
Because they're not home.
Correct.
because they're not home. And at this point, I'm like half pulling her more than
Yeah.
anything.
Okay. And eventually she'll I mean, she goes with you. Like, she doesn't push you off or fight you, but you can tell
Right.
she's hesitant. And then she's also just really weak. Like, you can tell. Like, even when you grab her hand, like, it feels like she's lost like so much water weight, you know, like it feels like you could see the veins in her fingers, her wrists and things. You can tell that she's definitely malnourished. But you eventually pull her out, and you do make it back into Ronnie's apartment, in same place. This isn't my house. This isn't my home.
No, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna.
Mom?
Not yet.
I
Not
tried
yet.
to
It's
call her.
gonna be a little bit.
She didn't answer.
Do you have? Do you still have anything in your pockets or a bag or anything?
No. I dropped things when I ran. Jeremy told me to run once. We saw these figures. They were flitting between the houses, and they were kind of following us. And Jeremy pulled his pocket knife, and he told me to run. So I ran, and I think I dropped everything. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
It's okay. And Car will try to grab like a granola bar or something and just give her just a little bit of food.
Yeah, she'll take the little bit of food, and then she'll start eating, and she'll like nibble on it. So, you're back in Ryan's apartment. What do you do?
I think we're heading back to the other room, right? With all the researchers and stuff, or no?
Yeah, like the facility section.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. You move back through Ronnie's apartment. You go from his bedroom into the main room. The shadows are still on the wall. You go to the front door. You push it open. And you realize it opens up onto a vast square, like city square. It's paved with these enormous, uneven stones that seem far too large. Like, they're way bigger than like stepstones in front of a house. They're enormous and uneven. And they appear to be surrounding this place. And you see what looks like these ancient crumbling monoliths that have been sort of erratically scattered about. Some of them tipped over, some of them broken in half. One or two still, you can see, are erect. And you also see, like, in between some of them, or even perched atop of them, are these billboards. And even a few of them look almost digital with these flickering lights. And then there's these alien-looking symbols that just make no sense to you. And you also see, scattered about these stones, are hundreds of hand outlines. As if, like, thousands of people, children especially, because they're small, just kind of place their hands in these different places. Like, most of them are white, some of them are red. You see an ad flicker into one of these kind of digital screens. It's like a grief counseling hotline. Then you see this old-fashioned, like, 1970s style of ad, and it's Kent Cigarettes. Take a moment for yourself. Smooth away the day's troubles. And you can see a person is lighting a cigarette at dusk, and there's the slogan over top of it. You see off to the side between some of these other monoliths, there's yet another one of these ads. Progressive soup. Nothing warms like a mother's love. And you see this woman that looks to be 70s or so, curly gray hair, like reaching out to you, the audience, with a bowl of soup. And you see underneath that sign, you see Chopra giving CPR to what appears to be Agent Inferno, and both of them are drenched in water. And you see all around them, there is like this flopping small little tiny fish and chunks of seaweed. What do you do?
Oh, what the fuck? And Weaver's gonna start running towards Inferno.
Run.
Go, Car. I've got her. And I take Ian.
Okay, so Price, you grab Anne's arm. Weaver, you run. Car, do you go over as well?
Car follows Weaver. Yeah.
The two of you run across the plaza, and you are overcome with this sudden sense of vertigo, this intense vertigo, as if the very ground beneath you is suddenly shifting or swaying to the point where your balance just doesn't seem to be quite right. The air is very thick, and you feel this like oppressive energy just sort of weighing down on you. And you can see that some of these carvings near these old monoliths where there's these hands just glow faintly, and it gives the entire area this kind of sickly light. Everything's sort of diffused in the sea green. And then you hear this hum. It seems to be coming from basically all around you, every one of these obelisks, every one of these monoliths. And then you make it eventually to where you see Inferno eyes pop open. And this is the moment when you popped your eyes open and you saw Chopra. Seconds later, Inferno, you see rushing up behind Chopra the face of Carr, the face of Weaver. What do you do?
Really in panic. It's too wet. I'm like stripping my shirt off, trying to get any wetness off of me.
Where'd these fish come from? We're in a fucking desert. What?
So you Weaver?
Yeah. Are you okay?
No. You're not Weaver. No.
Yeah. I'm Lisa. And then she's gonna try a psychotherapy roll to see if I can bring him back. She's presuming he's having another like water episode where he's because she's witnessed this before.
Okay.
To see if I can.
Yeah, if you want to try to like suppress this little moment of insanity, sure.
Yeah.
I'll take a couple boosts so you're not trying to roll under 11.
You could just shoot him too.
I'm 30.
That'll suppress it.
So I'm gonna rip it.
Ashley, you're like 35, 37.
No, I'm 32. I rolled a 7.
While you're doing that, keep talking for a second. I check on the Dodgers.
Oh no, we're in danger. So I failed.
You guys are cool. They won 2-0. Okay.
Ooh.
All right.
Get your hands off me.
Oh,
Don't kill me like you did my partner.
I only killed him because Frank told me to. He was a liability.
I have to warn the others.
Who? What others?
We're all here.
Nice car.
All of us are here. Yes. Car.
Breckenridge is here. Dr. Marshall.
Dr. Marshall's Breckenridge? I knew he was skeevy.
You would know that, Weaver.
How?
You're one of them too.
I'm Delta Green. Inferno.
What the hell's a Delta Green?
Or whatever she would really say.
You're programmed. You are programmed. You all don't say Delta Green. It's not a term that you all throw around. Just program. You're part of the program. You're G-Cell. You can call yourself just G-Cell. That's fine too.
Okay, let's get him up. And Car looks back to Price, who's holding Anne, and looks to Chopra, who is clearly injured.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Agent, let's get you up.
The sky, and she's like, explains the sky just like drenched them suddenly in water. Inferno ran into one of the buildings. And then when he started to run out, all of this water just poured out into the plaza. So she kind of just gives you like her perspective of like Inferno went inside. She didn't follow him, but then moments later he like comes rushing back out through the front door as if on a wave of like nasty water, and then the sky kind of drenched them for a bit. And then you look up and you can see it's just this kind of twilight sky once more. No clouds, nothing. But yeah, she'll take your hand. She'll get up.
Agent, and she's kind of looking down to Inferno. On your feet.
I'll follow you. Best I can do.
We found Anne. And she'll kind of gesture to Price with Anne.
And Price, have you done anything with Anne since they ran across this plaza?
I was just walking forward with her, just at a slower pace. I'm not as good as first aid, so that's why I said Car should go.
Yeah, you hear the hum as you cross, but you don't have that kind of vertigo effect that they had. You can definitely hear. It almost sounds like, it feels more like it's like power, like you're by some sort of power box or something. It's like just that little hum of electricity here or there. You can't quite make out where it's from. It's a very odd plaza. You get this very clear sense that you're being watched, and it's because everything is like almost like Cyclopean, right? It's got you're in the center of this square. There's all these uneven stones. There's all these ancient like monoliths, and then there's these billboards, and it's all creating this sort of encircled moment, and all of them are kind of looking down at you. Like you can see the eyes of the old woman from the Progressive Soup billboard just kind of reaching this out to you. You can see the eyes of the person who's lighting up their cigarette, like it's kind of looking down at you. You can see that in one of the ads, it's like the grief counseling hotline. You can see someone just kind of putting their hand like up to their forehead and like kind of looking down. Their eyes just seem to look down directly at you, and you just get this overwhelming sense that everything around here is just watching you.
Or will attempt to do a quick first aid on Chopra's leg just to try to get her.
I think we rolled one and she passed and made a splint. So for now, it's basically all you can hope for. Like you can't heal a broken leg with a first aid. Like basically what you would have been able to do is what they've already done.
Is already done. Okay. Car would be interested in going back to this handprint around the obelisk, because with the handprints in the cave, so she wants to go back to that when she's sort of gotten Inferno up on his feet.
Sure. There are dozens of them, maybe 100 of them all around. Some of them are on these monoliths. Some of them are on the ground, these huge slabs. The slabs are like these they're these giant rectangular plinths of some kind. They're enormous though. And you've never seen anything quite so large in terms of like actually being in sort of a plaza. Everything feels out of size. The hands look small, but then the tiles, everything just feels out of order. And you start to get that feeling that Price is getting. And everything's just sort of looking down at you. All of these eyes from these different billboards, one after the other, it's just kind of staring at you. You see this ad for Sominex, where you can see a person is sort of in the process of like kind of turning and tossing in their bed, and there's like drift into the sleep you've been missing. Let go of your worries. And you see that one of their eyes is kind of open, clearly indicating that they're awake. And that eye just seems to be looking right down at you as you look up at it.
She wants to kind of, while she's watching them, she wants to put her hand against, kind of that black rock and see if anything happens when she does that.
You feel like a rumbling, but other than that, you don't. Nothing happens.
She'll do as she's kind of done before, where she kind of makes a cut on her hand so that her hand is sort of moist with a little bit of blood, and kind of makes the print again, this time kind of leaving a little bit of a print.
Okay. The rumbling slowly ceases.
Did you all feel that? When I made a print, it seemed to have calmed things down a little bit.
This isn't the garden, is it? Because we're not supposed to spill blood in the garden.
This doesn't look like a garden.
Yeah, but nothing's normal here. And Weaver's kind of like anxiously looking for a door for us to continue like moving through.
You don't see one. And honestly, it's sort of strange because every time you look underneath some of these billboards or between some of these obelisks, you just kind of see sand extending out and away.
The door we came from is still there, right?
Oh, no. When you turn around, it's definitely gone. And when you turn around to look, you can go ahead and roll sand while you're at it. All three of you can. And Inferno, you don't have to roll it because you weren't aware of a door. You're fine. You're going to live forever.
I mean, I never actually said I was turning around to look. I just assumed it was there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. 43 under 45.
There you go.
58 fail.
Take 1 point.
93 needed a 39, so my dice were flipped on that.
I'm going to say 1 point, and I'm going to say this one's going to be more helplessness in the sense that you get the feeling that you're kind of rats in a maze kind of deal going on here. Like, obviously, the unnatural has been overwhelming. That's without question. But there's also this sense of helplessness that is underlying all of that. And it's certainly become much more significant here.
So Carr needs to push that off on a bond because she's 1 point away from a breaking point.
Well, didn't you pass? You passed. You don't have to.
Oh, that's right. All right, never mind. Sorry. There was a door. There is no longer. Stepping stones? There were stepping stones, right?
Well, those are still here because they're not stepping stones. They're these enormous, like they almost look like housing lots to themselves. And like there's only a handful of them, and those are the ground.
So that was my actual adapting to helplessness. And I just looked it up here. So I've got to roll a d6, and that's how much POW I permanently lose.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, because it was your third check. It was your third check, and you haven't hit your breaking point.
It was only 4. I had 10 before.
Okay. It's a good trade-off.
Down to 6.
It's a good trade-off. It means you're not gonna take the minimum if it's required. Okay. So Weaver, the only thing you see when you look out in between these obelisks, underneath these billboards, you just see sand. In one direction, you do see like in the distance what looks like different mounds of things in the sand here and there, but they almost look like little markers, not unlike what you saw in the cave painting.
Okay. I think she would kind of anxiously, you guys would watch as she heads towards these mounds of sand, and she starts to frantically again claw at it, and you guys just hear her say, "Please don't be Aunt Viv. Please don't be Aunt Viv."
I'm sorry to take away that awesome moment of roleplay, but that's not what you're saying. You're saying it's markers, like you're seeing, you're not seeing mounds of sand. You just see sand.
Got it, okay.
And then you see like little markers along the way, like little tiny chunks of like rock and stuff like that. So
like kind of like what we saw in the desert then?
It's exactly so. If anyone saw the cave paintings, you remember that there are these tiny little markings all over the place. It was like that. That's
And the stick
essentially what you're
figures.
seeing.
Okay. Should we just follow these then, like the cave painting?
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
One direction's as
We're
good as
just-
another.
We just have
Being
to get
watched
through it,
here.
right?
Yes. Forward.
All right, Anne, let's go. And I've still got like her arm over my shoulder, and I'm helping her walk.
Where are we going?
We're just
Still going to your parents.
we're going.
Are they here? Mom?
Not
Almost.
Not yet.
Just
Dad?
a little bit.
Mom? So you guys continue. You guys continue into the sand. You said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Car will help Chopra kind of move since she's got the broken leg. So it kind of feels like we're the three of us that are in a slightly better condition are helping out the three that are in slightly not as good condition.
Okay. You leave the rock, or you leave the stone plaza, and the ground severely changes. It's definitely like you're walking across desert once more, and it feels like those markers are further away than they look, because it's like every couple of steps it just doesn't look like you're getting closer. And then finally, Price, you suddenly trip and you nearly tug Anne down with you. And she tries to like help you, but she is ineffective at doing so. And you just land on the ground. And as you get your senses, you pull your head up from the sand, you realize that as you look back at what you tripped over, it's not one of these desert stones. It's not some rock, but instead it is a half-buried human jawbone. And you can see that it appears to be attached to a skull, and there are these bony hands sticking up out of the earth like it's a drowning swimmer. And as you kind of lean back from that and you look forward, you can see that there's another one maybe a few yards away from you, and then another, and then another, and then another, and then another. And you can see suddenly there's this sea of gloom, all these skeletal remains, all of them partially buried in what looks like this dusty red earth with a sand over top of them. I need you to roll a sand. Actually, all of you, as you start to see this, all of you can roll sand.
16 under 38.
Nice.
91 over 42.
91 over
under
42.
45.
Okay. So this one's going to be violence, as you see the remains of all these skeletal. And it's going to be, for anyone who fails, it's going to be 2. For anyone who passed, it's going to be 1, unless you're protected against violence.
I failed, and I'm currently minus 20 penalty because of my disorder too. So it's gonna be tough
dear.
to pass.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
The one good thing is that you don't see water anywhere. This place is dry as dry can be. You see sand, you see bone, and you just see it as far as you can see. The sky overhead is still that permanent twilight. You can see these long shadows stretching on the ground from the bones. The air is very, very heavy. And this has the feeling almost of like a cemetery in some ways. Price. While
So
you're
that
down
was
here,
actually my incident of violence being adapted as well. So I lose D6 charisma, and I rolled a 6. So
oh god, that makes sense.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
that brings me from 15 to 9 charisma.
So
Holy shit.
that sounds about right. You also notice, Price, as you completely ignore for a moment the dead skeletal body here. You see next to it, there's a small, flat, square stone about the size of a notebook. And it's right within a stride of this body, or this skeletal body. and you can see it has some writing on it. You don't immediately recognize that writing, but if you would like to roll history, you might be able to identify what the writing is.
Yeah, and I'll take 2 audience boosts because I suck at history. So that'll give me 30. Nope, 95.
Okay. It is certainly a language you are unfamiliar with, and it certainly doesn't look like anything that you've been exposed to, like Chinese or Japanese or anything like Cyrillic or anything like that. Doesn't look familiar.
I would dig it out of the sand. And before I would say that I was nice to Anne and just like set her down and tell her not to look at anything, but I just lost 6 charisma. So I feel like I wouldn't be that friendly right now. So I would just walk away from her at this point and dig it out of the sand and just like take a look at it. It's like a stone the size of a notebook.
Yeah, it's about the size of a notebook, yeah. And it's flat, and you can see the writing has been carved into it. And it does appear like it's just right next to the body. Like it's almost like got like a museum quality to it, or like a gravestone quality to it, because it's right next to the body. But if you want to dig it up, it takes a few minutes, but you're eventually able. It's fairly heavy. You're eventually able to remove it. Yeah.
After I do that and I look at it and I still don't understand it, I would be a bit more curious about the body too. And I would use the stone to just dig at the sand just to try and uncover a bit more of the body.
Okay, yeah. And so we'll say that's taking a little bit of time. So while that's happening, Inferno, are you doing anything?
I'm still worried that it's going to rain because we're in the desert, even though there's no water. I'll be walking towards any markers I see.
Okay, and they are all over the place. You just kind of go off in a random direction. Give me a luck test.
45.
You pass? Okay.
Yeah.
You eventually come to another body, very much in the same position. It's just skeletal. You can see the head sticking up from the sand. You can see hands sticking up from the sand. You can see, much like the one that Price is digging up, there is a marker here. This one appears to be in English. It seems to reference a woman, Barbara Keats. You can easily read it. Just the name. That's it.
I don't recognize it, so I'll move
don't?
along.
So you go to the next one. The next one you see, it's. I don't think you have Chinese as a language, but I think it is a prevalent enough language that you might be able to recognize the characters, and it is written out. And again, the body is in relatively the same position, mostly buried in the sand. Part of the head, part of the hands coming up. Find another one. Eventually you find one in Italian, Inferno, which you and your family will be able to speak. But you again, once more, don't recognize the name. Doesn't seem like anybody you know. But you keep seeing the same thing, and you realize after a while it does very much feel like a graveyard. So, while Inferno is wandering around and looking at some of these other markers, Price is digging one up. Carr and Weaver, what are you two up to?
I would say Carr might be trying to look at maybe go a little bit farther down and try to just see if there are. It seemed like there were similarities in sort of how these bones or the bodies were posed, trying to see if that is in fact the case, if they seem to be of different sizes, those types of things.
Yes, you move around and you can definitely tell they're not all like identical, but they all seem to have like arms like up, like reaching up. The bodies have been like kind of buried or at least crumpled into the sand. Mostly it's just the arms and the head, and sometimes the shoulders or parts of the ribs that are visible, but it's buried in sand. But they all again seem to have that same kind of like, it's not prostration, it's just their arms are kind of up in the air for whatever reason it might be. And there are different sizes. You can definitely tell just by looking at it. Some of them look like women, some of them like men, some of them like children. And there's a variety, and it's almost endless. Like as you look around, you're starting to see like the rows and rows and rows of this place. Okay, so while Carr is doing the same thing, what is Weaver doing?
She's looking to see if there's anything around watching us. Is there anything on the horizon?
Sure. Alertness test? Or what is your alertness, I should say? Let me ask that first.
My alertness is 36.
Okay, give me an alertness with a plus 20.
Okay.
Nice.
2.
Okay.
Wow.
You see two things. You see on the far edges these kind of shadowy figures that seem to be amassing. You can't quite make out what they are. They seem like they're just sort of moving in this almost mist-like state. And you've seen some of these before, and you've heard other people talk about them. You're kind of catching them in like the corner of your eyes here and there. You can periodically see like someone looks human. You can see faces, and they're not close to you. Like you can see they're at least 50 yards off or so. And you also see deeper into this graveyard, whatever you want to call it. You do see far away there is a figure that is very distinct, because pretty much everything you see as far as the eye can go is just flat desert red earth, and you can see these stones and these people sticking up from them, and that's pretty much it. But then you see a figure. It looks it's a ways out. It's a good 200 yards, 300 yards out maybe. Looks possibly like a person. You're not sure either it's a very short person or maybe they're kneeling, but they're very, very far out at this point from what you're seeing. And as you, Weaver, kind of move a little closer, like you're kind of like maybe squinting your eyes, you suddenly hear, no, no, no. And you look over to your left. Price has let Anne go, and Anne has wandered much like Carr has, much like Inferno has. And you see she has collapsed in front of one of these markers, and and is crying and weeping, and you can hear like the pain and like in each one of her yelps. Like it's the sadness, but it's also like this exhaustion, like she's on the verge of giving up, like that kind of deal. And you can see her off. And so you're probably the closest to her at this point, Weaver.
Weaver would go to check out and see who she's weeping over.
Okay. When you go over, you can see, much like all the others, there's the same body, same skeletal body. And you notice that there is, again, one of these small stones with something carved into it. And when you look over, you realize it says Michael Hector Thompson, which you would know from your debriefing. That is Michael's full name.
Yeah. Question. Do these, the one body that we did find in the desert before we came here, is
I
how
know.
it's...
Do you know that body's name?
It's in my notes. But
It's
is it
kind of an
Emily?
important name. That's Emily Hernandez. Yeah.
Yes. Is it in the same was
Steel
that
trap.
in the same position as these that we found?
Looks very similar.
And she'll turn and call the car and be like, these are in the same position as Emily. Was Aunt Viv in the same position?
Yeah, like when you dug her up, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
No. When you dug her up, she was a statue. So like she was like in this like defensive posture with her hands, and she looked like one of the statues, I should say.
Okay, good. But she wasn't in the same sort of... Okay.
She was. You didn't find her skeleton. Like you can't. Like when you look at this, you can't recognize Michael.
Yeah.
It's just a skeleton, or at least partial skeleton. The other part of it is buried.
Weaver's gonna try and comfort Anne. Well,
Okay.
you know, this isn't real. I thought I saw my aunt. It's not real. It's okay.
And she just kind of looks up at you. She's crying, but you can tell they're very dry tears. She's so dehydrated. There's only a tiny bit of dampness on her eyes. It's not like she's bawling, but you can tell like she's trying to, you know?
Yeah.
And she just, they're probably all here. They're probably all here. And like she just kind of lets out this resigned sigh when she says that.
You can't give up. We can't give up. We have to get through this. Come on. I saw someone up there. Let's go meet him.
You just like you pull her up and like she's very limp. Like she doesn't fight you, but she doesn't help you as you stand her up. Cycle back to Price. I want to cycle back to Price at this point. So Price, you've been digging away, and you do in fact dig up the skeleton. It's not an issue. Like you're able to do it and kind of pull out pieces here and there. It doesn't come out easy, and he doesn't come out
type of clothing or personal items.
Doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, so I would dig up like half of it then, just trying to like get like the torso out. And if I don't see any sort of clothing or personal items, I'd look up and see Anne crying and, you know, Inferno's wandering off.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's kind of scattered. You're all still easily within sight of each other and not that far away from each other, but you've definitely scattered a bit. Weaver has taken Anne. But like you see Inferno going off one way, you see Carr kind of wandering off a different way. They're both inspecting and looking at things here and there. They're not digging anything up, but they're inspecting bodies for Carr, inspecting some of these little plaques for Inferno. And then you see
I'd
Weaver.
walk over to Anne then and see that this one says Michael Hector Thompson. Oh, that just leaves Jeremy as unknown. We got to stay focused on the mission. We found that this place is real. We have to make sure that it doesn't fuck with anyone anymore. Preferably with us getting the fuck out before that happens. And I want to know what happened to Jeremy. He got out. Something pulled him back in. Whatever that is could pull someone else back in. We got to make sure we stop this. And I'm just kind of talking out loud, like not specifically to someone.
Mm-hmm. And Anne is just sort of like, you can tell like there's a part of her very clearly that's checked out at this point. Like you can feel it, Weaver, as you hold her. Like there's just an even greater frailty to her than there was a moment ago.
Mm-hmm.
And she barely is listening to Price and might not even reacting. Inferno and Carr. Inferno, your alertness is very high. As you get up and you hear the commotion behind you, the voices, you see in the distance the same thing Weaver sees. You see a figure 300 yards out. You see it move. You see like it was definitely kneeling. You can't really make too much out from this distance, and it gets up, moves over, and then you can see it kneels down again somewhere else. It's clearly a person.
I'll start heading in that direction.
Okay. Carr?
Yes, I think we should approach cautiously, but we should see who that is.
Weaver and Price, are you
I'd follow.
following?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Weaver's been heading over slowly with Anne.
Okay. So, as you start approaching this figure, those of you with 40 or higher alertness, you can very easily see those shadowy mirages on the side kind of start to surround. They don't seem to be coming directly towards you. They could if they wanted, it seems like, but they don't. And then those of you with like 60 or higher alertness, you periodically see that several of them have these like bat faces. They look like bat face humanoid figures. They materialize and then they kind of dissipate into that kind of dark mirage. And they never seem to get much closer than, 100 yards or so. And
what about those of us with 90 or higher alertness?
You can roll a sanity test as you see beyond them. Cthulhu has climbed up out of and has fried your brain.
Well, good thing I've adapted to helplessness and violence.
Okay.
Can't adapt
That would
to
be
unnatural.
Cthulhu Rising would be unnatural. Okay. As you guys get closer, you can see that there is a figure kneeling on the ground. Their back is to you. You see, as you're walking, they stand, then they walk a few yards further away from you, and then they kneel again. And it looks like they are kneeling beside one of these graves, similar to what you all were doing. And it dawns, at this point perhaps, on Inferno and Price and Weaver, that this image looks disturbingly familiar to you. When you were in the Villaggio della Sorella, there were many child drawings on the walls and in the storage containers. And you very clearly remember one of them was of a woman, a figure, kneeling amongst countless graves. And this is coming back to you at this point. I need the three of you, Car, you don't have to, the three of you to roll a sand test.
Barely a pass. 32 under 37.
Okay. You're
82
good.
failed.
Pass 19 over 40.
You're good. That's going to be 2 for Inferno. Okay. So, I would say you're still already suffering from your hydrophobia, so I would say it's just still kind of this anxiousness, just waiting for rain, waiting for water, waiting for the deluge to come down, even though the sky is just twilight and cloudless. So from a distance, yeah,
would notice that everyone sort of seems to react to that. So she's kind of sort of noticing that they all seem to have a why. What? We haven't even gotten up to it yet. What are you all seeing?
A child has seen this.
I'm sorry?
A child has been here. This is a drawing. A scene painted.
Car looks to Weaver.
Weaver just kind of shakes her head. It was just a past mission, I guess. And
Card nods a little bit, like, okay, this puts it in context that this is something. Oh, okay. That's enough for her for now, that she's sort of in on what this reaction was.
And Weaver's gonna call out to the woman. Hello?
no response. You can see from where you're at as she again gets up, moves, kneels again. She is indigenous. You can tell she's in her 30s. She has a brown and dust-stained dress, and her back is to you. And you have Anne on your arm, and you hear her say, "That was her.
That's a smiling woman."
That was the woman by the statues.
What was she doing with the statues?
Huh?
My hand goes to my gun and I start walking towards the woman.
Okay.
But
and tries to like pull away from you, Weaver.
Okay.
She's fine. She's a friend. She doesn't want to hurt me.
Okay. Who
Did she
does?
want to hurt Nick?
Let me go. Let me go.
And she does. Weaver lets her go.
So she starts walking. So right now, Price, you're out in front. You've got a gun out, drawn, closing in.
Not drawn, just like it in my belt, my hands on it.
Okay, gotcha. Weaver, you're a little further behind. Anne is moving in the direction of Price as well. Carr and Inferno, where are the two of you?
Just watching them move towards him.
Okay.
Look at this guy.
And I would say Carr, similar to Price, has her hand on her gun that's sort of like tucked in the back of her pants as she kind of moves forward cautiously. And again, obviously this has already been done, but just kind of calling out again.
And said she doesn't want to hurt her.
Yeah. Seeing Price and Carr move with their hands on guns. Leave her alone. Leave her alone. She doesn't want to hurt you. She doesn't want to hurt me. She could have. And she's just like yelling now. It's the most energy you've probably seen her expel in the time that you've known her.
Raise both of her hands. What does she want?
Price, what do you do?
I turn back, Weaver, Carr, get her under control. And then I turn and continue walking towards the woman.
Woman gets up once more, turns, and you catch a profile of her face as she moves to what looks like another one of these bodies that she kneels next to. Price, and anybody with very high alertness, and you can choose to say that you're not looking if you're tending to Anne or something like that, that's fine. You recognize her. You recognize her as the woman that was in Enrique Navarro's home. It was the painting that he said was his mother and was over top of his mantle in the living room where you interrogated him. And then she kneels down once more. Look out! They want to hurt you! They want to hurt you! She kind of calls out. This is Anne at this point. What do you do, Price?
I would tentatively, voice wavering a bit, Mrs. Navarro?
There's a beat, and you can hear Anne is like starting to yell even more, and you can tell that she's got like this wind of energy now. If like Weaver or Carr is like grabbing her, and she's like, "Leave her alone! Leave her alone! She's not gonna hurt you. They have a gun!" And Price, as you call out, you're maybe 10 yards away, we'll say. You can see the woman gets up and she turns around in your direction. And she is, when you look at her, she's in her 30s. She looks relatively young. And she is not looking at you, Price. She's like literally looking past you. And instead, she is facing Anne and Weaver, basically. She's looking right there. She doesn't speak. But you hear Anne say, She's been waiting for us. Like she turns and looks at you, Weaver. She's been waiting for us. It can all be over now.
What do you mean?
All the worry, all the regret, all the guilt, all the pain, she can take us back. She knows what brought us here, and she doesn't care. All we have to do is accept her, embrace her, and then she can take away all of our suffering. We'll never be alone. Not again. We can finally be home.
No, we need to go home.
I need you to roll sand test, Weaver.
Oh my gosh.
43 fail.
You feel, and you're going to get control. Don't give.
Okay.
I'm not taking away control, but you feel compelled in some way by the offer that Anne has just presented to you. And you realize somewhere in your mind that it wasn't Anne so much as this woman. She was the mouthpiece in some ways. You feel like there's something compelling about that offer. And what the rest of you see is Weaver stumbling towards the woman who is now facing Price. The woman in front of you, Price, has her arms that are coming up now at this point, as if waiting for an embrace. And Carr and Inferno and Price, you all see Weaver stumbling, and you see Anne stumbling as well, as the two of them are just moving towards this woman who now has this grim smile, this sad smile. It's not bright, it's not happy. It's like this sort of sorrowful smile with her arms wide open. Weaver,
I'm so
it's
tired.
still your call. Yeah, it's still your call. You have control, but there is this moment, and whether it's entirely up to you, but you do have control.
And as she's stumbling, you guys hear Weaver say, I'm so tired. And then she trips before she gets all the way to her, and she lands on her knees. And she's kind of clawing at the sand. But if I give up, who's going to take care of Jamie? I have to get home to Jamie. I can't give up. But I'm so tired. And she's just looking at the woman.
Yeah. And her arms are out. And again, Weaver, you don't even notice that you are crawling.
Mm-hmm.
And because you tripped, Anne has now gone ahead of you and is almost up to Price and within 10 yards. And the woman in the brown dress is still there holding her arms. Price, Carr, Inferno, the three of you can act. You tell me what you want to do. Weaver is kind of weeping and crawling. You can see Anne is stumbling, but you can tell at this point Anne, with each step, is getting kind of more certain with each step. It's no longer faltering. And you can see like her shoulders kind of start to lean back, whereas before they were hunched forward, and she seems determined to come to this woman. What do the three of you do, if anything?
Navarro, what happened here? What happened to you? What happened to Jeremy? What happened to Karis?
There was no response.
Oh, hell. And I step in and I go and I just grab Anne and just like bear hug her and pull her back.
Okay.
At this point, Weaver's gotten...
Nope.
No?
Something's going to happen first.
Okay.
So, Price, you physically move to step in the way of Anne moving towards this woman. As you do, Anne screams, "No! No!" And in an instant, Price, you don't even know how it happens. It's like a blur. You feel the presence of this other woman standing next to you. And as your head turns to this woman, you feel your brain begin to twist and turn. You take 6 points of sanity loss. No roll. And you feel this intense sorrow overwhelm you. You know at the same time that this is the only chance you have to do anything. You're certain if you don't do anything now, you will never get the chance again. You hear in the back of your mind every complaint, every needling, undercutting comment, your wife or your son, even unintentional, your partners, your fellow agents, your handlers, anything, it just rushes back to you in this wave, and this intense sorrow comes over top of you. Inferno and Carr, you see this happening. But I gotta give Price a chance to do something first.
Could I attempt to push this off on a bond so I don't take a temporary insanity?
Yes, okay. You can. Absolutely.
So that's roll 1d4 then is what that is.
It's
and I'm pushing
1d4. You're going to take some. All you need to do is get
you have the willpower.
2. Yeah, and you need 2, so you get under 5 because you don't want to get a 5.
You said it's 1d4.
1d4, and then you have to spend an equal amount of willpower, and that's how much you reduce.
Oh, so that would drop me down to 0 willpower then. I rolled a 4. I had 3 willpower. I really needed to roll a 2.
Willpower, though, I think we've been over this a couple times. When you go to 0 willpower, you don't just like collapse the way you don't go on unconscious the way like you do with health going down to 2. Is that right, Inferno? I think this happened to you a few times. Do you remember?
Suffer an emotional breakdown. You don't really continue.
Okay, so I think that makes perfect sense in this situation. An emotional breakdown as you're feeling like all of this kind of repressed sorrow in the back of your mind begin to flood forward. What does it look like as you are physically you are physically right now between Andalini and this woman, and you can feel all of these emotions like swirling around in you, and you know underneath it all, like if you don't do something now, you will never get a chance again.
Vin's first reaction is to fight against everything. So feeling like the woman nearby holding Anne, he would just start thrashing out and flailing, not trying to hurt anyone in specific, but also trying to hurt everyone around him, I think. Okay.
Inferno and Carr, you hear a voice call out, and it's not Anne, it's not Price, it's not Weaver, and it's not each of you. Instead, you hear a voice coming from off to the north, maybe, if that is north, somewhere where the shadows. And you just hear the sounds of it's a man's voice. And you just hear, wait! No! You mustn't! And Carr and Inferno, and only the 2 of you, see this familiar figure pull from this dark haze, this mirage of figures, and they're running, but you can tell they're struggling, and you see Enrique Navarro. And he's calling out, and he's like, I warned you! Do not shed blood here! As Price is flailing about. Price, roll a luck test.
All right. 23.
Okay. You turn and you swing. You miss this woman in the brown dress. You kind of clip Anne Delaney, who stumbles back a little bit and then kind of pushes against you and kind of claws and tries to come towards this woman. Now, Carr and Inferno, what are you doing as you see Enrique Navarro running up? You see the woman who you saw in a painting above the mantle in Enrique Navarro's home, who he identified as his mother, staring down Price. Price is panicking and swinging around in a way that seems unlike him. Anne Delaney has suddenly got this verve of energy. And you can see Weaver is like slowly kind of crawling in the direction of this woman. So Inferno and Carr, what do the 2 of you do?
Get a hold of yourself, Price, and I'll go up and restrain him from acting.
Okay, so you run up, you grab him. Okay, so thank you, Steven. I see you dropped it. So you lose control. I like the lash out wildly. I think that makes sense. Had you roll a luck chest to see if you hit who you hit, basically, right? And at this point, Inferno pulls you away. And so you're still kind of thrashing. Carr, what do you do? And you can see Enrique is like this man in his 70s, right? He's an older man. He's kind of coming. He's got his hand reached out in your direction.
Carr sees that and is most concerned with Weaver continuing to crawl towards her. So while Inferno goes and grabs Price, Carr would go up to grab Weaver and try to restrain her.
Okay. And you reach down and you kind of it's not hard to restrain her.
Don't do it. No.
It's like, yeah. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. She's just like, kind of puts her our arms around her waist. Don't do it.
And I don't think Weaver's fighting you like Anne was, but she's still, sorry, Elvis is being weird. She's still digging at the sand and just kind of like pulling fistfuls towards herself as like she's still unable to stop herself from at least sort of trying to get towards the woman, and she's just weeping.
And Car's just sort of sitting behind you, kind of like arms around your waist, just sort of digging her heels into the sand, just trying to make sure that you don't go forward. Like you can do whatever you want kind of digging, but as long as you're not moving forward, she's just kind of sitting there. Don't do it. Don't do it.
She can make it stop. She can make it go away. Aren't you tired? I'm so tired.
No, I'm not. We're here to do a job. We're here to do a job. And she's kind of squeezing her a bit just to try to get some pressure in, just to see if that helps at all with kind of this state that she's in.
So you have Weaver restrained. Inferno, you have Price restrained. Enrique has not quite caught up to you. Anne is not restrained. And she lunges forward, and you see the arms of the woman that you were looking into the eyes of for a moment, Price, and felt all sadness and sorrow just wash over you, and it's still swirling around. You're hearing voices from when you were a child come back at you. And she throws herself at this woman, Anne does. And you can see there's just this big embrace. And Anne just kind of nestles her head right against her shoulder, and they're just there for a moment, and it looks like motherly, like this sort of sweet moment. And then you can tell the woman in the brown dress leans down and just kisses Anne on the forehead. And Anne just looks up, and you can see like her body language is just like just this sigh comes over top of her. And you watch as she starts to just wither in front of you. You can see her skin, which had been pasty and peeling, and you can see her veins become more pronounced as the skin withers and pulls more tightly against the bone. You can see parts of her arms and legs begin to calcify in front of you. You can see, like, it doesn't look like she's screaming out in pain. Instead, it just seems like this moment of resignation. And then, as her arms pull away from the embrace, they just turn and calcify further. And she crumbles to the ground at this point, her body just sinking to the earth. And you can see that Anne is effectively no more. This shrunken, calcified, skeletal body. All of you go ahead and roll sand.
Me too.
Yeah, even you. Yeah, and this moment is fairly... Actually, you can't succeed at it, can't, right? Because you're at 0.
Yeah, I
can't
succeed.
He can't succeed.
Yeah.
My bad.
No, you're good. Okay.
It's impossible for me at the
45.
moment.
You can't pass?
At my 18th sand with the minus 20 penalty, so I can't pass.
Inferno. Oh, you lucky bastard. Inferno, you take 2 points of sand loss. That's the minimum, by the way, just so you know. Carr, how'd you do?
I passed 3 under 45.
Okay. For a pass, 1 is the minimum, and you take 1.
Okay. And I continue to need to.
That's fine.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out because I have 4 willpower left, which means I could roll a 4 if I try to pass it off, or I'm going to hit a breaking point.
Okay. It's up to you.
Risk it for the biscuit.
Okay.
Price, you automatically failed. You take 4 for sand loss. And then Weaver, how'd you do?
I failed.
Okay.
I've lost more sand today than I have.
3 sand for you, Weaver.
Okay.
You guys are literally
I started this session like 13 away from my breaking point, and now I'm 1 away.
You guys are in, I mean, where you're at. Think about it. Like your brain should be, this is what should happen. Okay.
So, sorry to break this for a second. So, what is worse? Going to 0 willpower or hitting a breaking point?
Okay, so breaking
0 willpower
point
is worse because you can't do anything.
Exactly.
Well,
you lose
you get
control.
disorder,
You're in
the
yeah, you can't pass sand tests if there's any more. Like that's why Steven just failed his because he auto fails because he can't pass it. So definitely 0 willpower is worse. I agree.
Okay,
Technically, the temporary insanity means you can't do anything until your insanity runs its course as well.
Yeah, that's true. But it could be you're fleeing, struggling, or submitting. It could be a couple different ways to go.
Okay. So that happens. So like watching this and I would say one of her motivations is doing what's right. And so she did do what was right with Weaver, but then, obviously watching this happen, I think that will definitely affect
so
losing
a breaking point doesn't give you temporary insanity. And breaking point gives you a new disorder.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My
temporary
bad.
insanity is 5 or more in a single roll, just so everyone knows.
I'm working off 1 willpower and real.
Okay, so I have a new disorder then.
Yeah, which we can sort out later. But yeah, something just snaps. Maybe it's this moment of emotional vulnerability from Weaver. Obviously, seeing Delaney, the only person you've been able to potentially save, wither in front of you. And then, as you guys watch this, people are struggling, keeping each other restrained. You watch until only traces of Delaney are left, and much like the other bodies you've seen, the arms still extend, the head is still there. You can see that the woman in the brown dress turns from you, kneels. You can see she leans down and she kisses the forehead of the skull, and then she kind of carves out with her fingertip a square in the sand. And you see the sand just raise and harden until it looks like the stone plaques that you've seen elsewhere. And then with a single nail, you just hear a small scrape as she starts to carve into it. It's around this point, I'll say, that Enrique catches up. Inferno, you still have Price in your hand, in your arms. Car, you've managed to withhold Weaver, and you see the aged 70-plus-year-old Enrique Navarro staring at you all. I told you, you can't shed blood in the garden. What do you guys do? Any orders fine?
Yours.
We haven't.
You came too close. I saw that one. And you can tell that he has a very, concerned look on his face. What are you going to say, Weaver?
Because the only one Weaver's really recalling saying, "Don't spill blood in the garden," is the boneheaded guy. With the cow skull, and so, or whichever it was, and she's gonna just continue to repeat, how is that you?
He looks kind of at you at this point, and you see for a moment there's like a kind of a shimmery flickering around him, and he just kind of kind of shakes his head. I need to show you something. I see that you still do not understand. You cannot harm her. Not just that you should not harm her, but you cannot kill her. Mater Suspiriorum will always be here. She was there when you first came into this world. She drew back your eyelids with her thumb so that you might see. And she will be there on your dying day. Do you remember? Come. He takes like 10 steps away and he kind of stands at one of these graves and he motions to you all to come.
And Weaver does.
I'll follow him with Price in tow.
And like Price, not unlike Delaney, is just sort of like limp in your arms. Now, obviously, he's a little bigger and stronger, but you're able to pull him along a little bit, not much. And when you come over, he kind of looks down. All those years ago, people ask me, how did I escape? How did I survive? I told you. She was my mother. And he kind of looks down, and you see there is this dusty marker beside these two entwined skeletons. One appears to be female, and you can see entwined in it is a much smaller one. It looks to be a child's skeleton. And the marker reads Belinda Navarro and Enrique Navarro. I have always known the way back to this place. And as you look up to him, you can see he flickers. And he is not the old 70-year-old man that you've seen before. He is an indigenous man in denim biker attire. You hear a gasp from Chopra, who has been otherwise very quiet. You see it flickers again, and he is now the man with the cow's skull. You realize perhaps it is not just a hat. I hope you understand now. And he looks at you all as if he's like waiting some sense of understanding from you.
You've always been here.
I am her son, just as they are. And he kind of motions out, and you can see all of those different like mirage figures begin to crystallize into vision. And you can see them now. They are wearing these cloaks, these hooded cloaks. They are lurking kind of in the sand. They have these bat-like face. I am her son, just as they are. And he kind of turns back to you. All of you, just as you are, in your own way. Again, he's like looking at you, and he shifts back. He's got the face of Enrique Navarro once more, and he's got that kind of old look to him. And you hear the sounds of a cocking gun. And then you hear the voice. That's all fine and good, but can anyone tell me what the fuck is going on around here? And when you turn around, you see there is the woman you know as Sarah Wynn, pointing a gun at the two of you, or at the four of you, excuse me. You can see there is the man you know as Carlos Ramirez, and then there is the doc, the guy who was kind of orchestrating all of it. And he is like staring with eyes wide at this place, and he doesn't really seem too attentive to you all. He's just kind of looking around. But the two with the guns are, one of them, Ramirez, has got it pointed right at Chopra, and the other one is pointing at Inferno. Real nice performance you had out there. You had us convinced you didn't know what the... How did you make it in here? What the hell is going on? What is this place? And she seems like her hand is like shaking. And she's just sort of pointing it directly at you, Inferno. And you can tell a person who's kind of on edge, and she looks on edge. And Enrique is like, no. And her hand's shaking. Who the fuck are you people? What do you guys do?
This is the garden. I wouldn't do that.
This isn't a garden. This is a graveyard.
It just,
all these people.
We don't know much more than you do. We don't know much more than you do. We do know that if you approach her with violence, this will not end well. There are forces here beyond what any of us can understand. Please put the gun down. Car's, her hands have kind of been up as they were before. They kind of go back to going up again.
Okay. Car, give me a persuade test, but take a -20.
Okay.
This is a very tense and odd situation. And
absolutely.
She doesn't particularly trust you.
So my persuade is an 80, so it'll be a 60 for the roll. 70.
She looks at you, and she's got like this... What? She's just a woman.
She's not.
Just...
She's really not. I really wish you would believe me. She's not.
She's got the gun on you. Goes back to the woman. Goes back to you. Inferno, what do you do?
What are you looking for? Why are you here?
The facility. Did you see it?
We saw it.
We did, but we got lost.
How do we get out?
We're figuring that out right now.
Here! And you can tell like her gun is like even higher now, and like safety is off.
And Enrique, how do we get out?
You walk. And he just sort of like waves off into the distance. Then you guys hear the sounds of the doc, the professor. You can see he's kind of moving about as well. Dr. Marshall, he's extraordinary. He's got like some device in his hand. The readings here are just truly extraordinary. Absolutely Oh, hello. And you can see, as you look over, there's the woman, and she's standing right in front of him, and he's got some device. You're not sure if it's like some sort of souped up GPS or some other scanning equipment. You've seen some of it, Inferno, you and Chopra. He's just kind of like looking at her. And as he does, he's like, his posture continues to dip and dip. His head just continues to descend. and then her arms kind of go wide at this point. What do you guys do?
So Carr kind of had her hands up because she was talking to who we understand to be Sarah Wynn. You might want to do something about him.
What?
Just
Don't
shoot
get back
her.
from him. Get back from him.
Draw blood.
Lady.
Just
get
grab him.
back.
Pull him away.
They're not even close to each other. And he's just like stumbling forward. And Weaver, you know the feeling. Like you used to see him stumble and his arms go wide.
He won't be able to. He can't stop it. He can't stop it.
And then he just puts his arm around the woman in the brown dress. And she like
I'll
leans
tackle
up
Sarah before she witnesses what happens.
Okay. So, you're going to try to go tackle her. Give me a, what's it called in this game? So we can do not a melee. Isn't there something else? Yeah, it's just melee, I guess.
Unarmed.
Yeah, just roll a melee test.
Unarmed combat.
Oh yeah, unarmed combat. There it is. I knew it wasn't melee. Yeah, unarmed combat.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Oh, Inferno, you're so out of it. You're brave.
I'll take 2 boosts to negate the negative. I got a 16 success.
Okay.
Wow.
As she turns her gun and you can tell that she's about to fire, you rush up, you let Price go, and then you leap and tackle her to the ground. And I'm going to roll to see if she holds onto her gun. All right, so she's got a 30 in athletics, and she does not. As the gun goes sprawling, that's an 81, and her gun just sprawls, and it goes off. So like you tackle her, and it fires up, but it then flies out of her hand, and it's in the sand. So we're gonna go around. I'll give you all an opportunity to do something. So Weaver and Carr, what do you do?
Weaver's gonna dive for the gun to try and make sure that she can't get it back.
Easily done. We'll say you rush over and you dive down and you grab the gun. Okay, Carr, what do you do? She's like thrashing around and trying to like fight with Inferno and reaching out for the gun. And like you can see her hand gets just so close, and Weaver comes over and just sort of drags away. The 3 of them are just right now slamming around in the middle. Like they're just kind of like wrestling around in the sand together. What do you do, Carr?
Carr is going to come up and see if she can, I'm not sure if this is going to be possible, and so you can totally say no if not, but she kind of wants to see if she can sort of put this woman, Sarah Wynn, kind of into a hold to try to see if I can kind of get her to go unconscious without spilling blood, basically.
Give me an unarmed combat. I'll say take a plus 20 on this because Inferno has already tackled her to the ground as you try to just essentially come up behind her and like kind of put her into a sleeper hold, basically.
Yeah. Okay, so unarmed combat's normally a 50, so I'm aiming for under 70. And I rolled a 40.
Okay, and you do. And the 3 of you have essentially neutralized this woman. Dr. Marshall, meanwhile, has begun to shrivel, just like Anne. And that's when Ramirez, the only other person here who also has a gun, sees that. Get the fuck off him! When he fires and unloads a full clip, and you watch as the woman in the brown dress, these welts of blood. You hear Navarro, no! As she falls to the ground. And you also notice that Marshall falls. But he moves. You can tell he's partially calcified, partially shriveled, but the full effect didn't happen. And you can see that Ramirez is closing in and kind of turning around, looking at you, but then closing in and kind of looking at the woman. Okay. So that is, we'll say, round 1. Navarro is screaming, I warned you not to shed blood here. Now Tisiphone comes! And as you hear him yelling that, you look over and you can see the body of the woman in the brown dress is limp for a moment. It's just sort of laying there in this state that just looks normal. But then you see it shift and twitch and begin to quiver and contort, and you feel Sarah Wynn go limp in your arms. And then you see wrenching and ripping free from the torso of this woman. You see a talon just burst through her torso in this shredded brown dress. And then you see following it is this horrific blood-caked face. And you see a second talon comes out. As if she's pulling the skin and the suit that was Mater Superiorum off of her. This vaguely female thing, blood-soaked, screeching. Twitching, her eyes kind of not even there, just these empty sockets. And it shoves one of those talons deep into its own midriff and just tears into its stomach. And you see it just pulling out one. This long intestine. I need all of you to go ahead and roll a sand test.
What?
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
I'm going to go ahead and fail that one.
Yeah, you're going to fail that one too. All right.
Oh, I
I'm
passed.
I failed.
Also failed.
Okay. Oh God. So both
Oh,
of you,
gosh.
how'd you do, Car?
I passed 30 under 44.
Okay. So you pass 1 point of sand for Car. That's the minimum.
Okay.
Inferno.
Oh my gosh.
God dang, Inferno. 1. I keep rolling minimum for you, buddy. 3 for Weaver, though.
I'm gonna try and
1
push.
1d4. Okay, you're gonna push off onto.
Yeah.
Okay.
How much was it for me?
I'm sorry, I didn't even roll yours.
Was 3, got 3. Awesome.
2 for
Nice.
price. It's 1d4. 1 if you
And
pass.
that is a breaking point for me, so I'll get a disorder later.
Okay. You right now, to reset the scene, and then we'll go back into initiative. The body of Mater Superiorum is on the ground, and it has been tossed aside as if it is just some piece of clothing. And emerging from it is this vaguely female form, ghastly looking. No eyes, but just the sockets for them. Long arms, talons at the end. You can see these inverted knees of legs. And right now they have reached into their own midriff and they're pulling out their intestine foot by foot. These crazed screeches each time they do so. Now, I think, Car, you have a gun, which means that you...
Yes, I
actually,
do.
it's not really drawn. Are you pointing it at Sarah? At Wynn?
No, because I had gone up and put her in a sleeper hold, so
Okay.
the gun is still kind of tucked in
Oh,
her.
I'm
in the
sorry.
back of her
Weaver's
pants.
got it. My bad. Weaver's got it. Weaver, are you pointing it or anything like that?
No, because she just disarmed it, so she's
Okay.
kind of standing there in shock, I think.
Okay, so we're going to go into initiative. I need dex scores. Inferno, where you at?
My dex is 70.
Okay.
Or 14. Set point.
Car, where you at?
10 or 50.
Okay. 10 or 50? Oh, yeah, let's just...
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're doing
You guys are doing
pure
like that...
score or the...
Yeah, we're getting confused with Call of Cthulhu. No, just the normal score is fine. So, what would you say again? It was
10.
It was 10? Okay.
Yeah.
At 14.
Thank you. Car is at 10. Weaver, where you at?
13.
Okay. Okay. Then I'm going to say Wynn is unconscious. You have put her into a sleeper hold, so she is not going to act. Ramirez is also at a 70, or 14, I should say. And he has a gun out, so he actually gets a bonus, sort of. And then the Doc Marshall, he's 60. So he's at 12. Okay. And then Tysiphony, which is what this creature is. Tysiphony is at 15.
Oh dear.
Okay. I will say, and then Enrique Navarro. I forgot about him. Enrique Navarro is also at 15. Okay. So I'll start with Tysiphony. I've already kind of done part of her turn as she has essentially manifested. And then I'll say, to finish off her manifestation, you see as she pulls free about 25 feet of her own guts. She pulls it up and like rips it apart. And then she snaps it in the air like a whip. And she turns in the direction of where everybody is and where the gunshots came from. And you see she reaches her arms out wide. And again, she's got claws, talons, and her legs kind of look a little contorted. But then as her arms are wide, with one of them holding a bloody 25 foot long whip, she ascends into the air. You don't see wings. You don't see any sort of device. She just floats into the air. And as she does so, she screeches into the dust, into the sand, and all of you can hear this. Then Navarro will go, and he will chase after Ramirez. So he is going to go and chase after Ramirez and attempt to tackle Ramirez. So let's do this. And with a 39 under 40, he does, in fact, tackle Ramirez to the ground. Okay, and that's his turn. Then we come to Ramirez himself. I am going to roll to see if he kept his gun in his hand. With a 14, we'll say he does. While wrestling around on the ground with Navarro, you just hear more gunshots. And you see exploding out the back of Navarro these explosions of gore and blood and violence. As you can tell, Ramirez has just shot him multiple times on the ground. And that is their turn. Inferno, it is your turn now. The last we saw of you, you tackled Wynn to the ground. You felt her go limp. Carr has put her in her sleeper hold. Weaver has picked up a gun. Price is like just staring, almost dumbfounded, at this creature that just crawled out of the body of Mater Suspiriorum. And it's just sort of babbling to himself. Chopra is right behind him, trying to shake him and like get him to snap out of it. But she's limping everywhere she goes with her broken leg and grimacing. Inferno, what do you do?
Mother God, run for your life. I'm going to turn around and sprint 30 meters without looking back.
Attaboy. Okay, so Inferno, you just turn and bolt as fast as you can. Perfect. Okay.
What about me? Take me with you.
Carr. Actually, wait. Is it Carr? No, it's Weaver. I apologize. Weaver, you are next.
Yeah, she's gonna kind of take that action and grab Price and fucking run. She picks a different direction.
Okay. Do you keep the gun in your hand?
She's gonna try.
Okay. No, you don't. Like, you can. It's not. I'm not taking it from you. I'm just asking you if you do. So you got a gun. You rush up. You grab Price and you start dragging him away. And like Chopra is like hopping after you. Steven, you want to play Chopra? She needs to be. You can do that. Don't get her killed.
Yeah. Chopra. Everyone else is running, so Chopra should run too.
Okay.
I feel like
Chopra is
Chopra
right
would
up
attack,
there
though.
with
Like,
14.
knowing my
Yeah.
tray, she would just start fighting, right?
I don't know. She
I mean,
ran
I should
away
have
from
played
a
Chopra. I should
she ran
not
away
play
from a
Chopra. I would get her-
bonfire. Like I don't know if she would turn and fight this thing. I'm not
Okay.
sure if that's what she would do.
Yeah, so she runs that.
Okay. Turn. And so she's behind though. She's got a broken leg and she is lagging behind. And Weaver, you said, so I'm gonna say Weaver, Price, and Chopra have moved half the distance Inferno has, because Weaver, you're basically helping Price, and Chopra is limping along the way. Inferno, you have a lead on everybody. You're basically, did you just pick a distance? Did you just pick a direction and go? Are you running back the way you came? Are you running
Directly away from Phoenix
Okay, so
that just appeared.
effectively back the way you came, essentially? Okay. Car, I think it comes to you. Actually, it's Marshall first. So he's like, and because he was right there when this thing birthed itself from within the skin of Mater Suspiriorum, and he has got blood and viscera on, and half his body has withered. You can see his arm seems too thin and calcified. Help me, help. And he's getting up, and you can see half of his face just looks gray and looks almost like stone or bone. Help me, and he's getting up and he's trying to like run away at this point. Okay, now it comes to Car.
No, goodness. Car. Oh gosh. Car. Can I roll? So what I would like to try to do, then kind of chat mentioned this too, like this thing just ripped itself apart and ripped intestines out of it. So she's sort of like looking at the gun and her hand and like looking at the damage that it just sort of did to itself. And so if it's okay with you, I'd like to maybe roll a luck and see if she has like a lighter or something that she wants to try to see if there's something that she can do to try to like set this thing alight.
Are you a smoker?
I'm trying to remember which of my characters in deltagreen have been smokers or not.
Price would have a later.
I feel like I have a vague memory of car smoking with someone at the very beginning of
No luck
this.
necessary then. If you say
Okay.
you're a smoker, you've got a lighter on you. No problem. You want to go light this thing on fire with your lighter.
With a lighter.
It's what I would like to try to do, kind of that. So, and tell me if this is too much, but so Marshall did just ask for help, so she wants to see if she can kind of have the lighter in one hand that she's kind of flicking on, see if she can go to Marshall, pull him, and throw the lighter, because she's going to need to get closer to it to throw the lighter anyway.
Okay. I want to set up your expectations. Why are you under the impression that throwing the lighter at her is going to ignite her? She's not covered in
just-
gasoline or
Yeah.
kerosene or anything like that. It's just blood. I don't. Yeah. I want to give you
Well,
that
it's not
because I
going
feel like
because she just saw what happened. There's no reason
Okay.
behind it.
if you're
it's
just
sort of
doing
like
it, if that's how you're playing it, like it's just like
Yeah,
like whatever.
It really
then
is.
absolutely. Okay.
It's kind of a like, I don't know what shooting a gun through a thing that just pulled its intestines
Okay.
out is going to do. Let me see if I can throw a lighter into the hole that it just pulled its intestines out of.
Maybe it's weak to fire.
Okay. I will say you can rush up to Marshall. You put an arm around him, and then you throw a lighter at this bloody creature that is floating in the air now. I do want you to roll to see if you hit, however.
Sure.
So give me I don't think there's a thrown thing. I think it's just ranged. I think it's just ranged weapons. Or is it? No, it's
Yeah,
firearms. Give me athletics.
Yeah.
Let's do athletics.
Oh, okay. I'll take +1, so it's under 40. It's not horribly high.
Okay.
Let me see. 39.
So that's a success.
Yes.
You throw the lighter up. You see for the briefest of moments as the flame touches the body of this flying Sisyphone, there's the tiny bit of a scorch, and then it immediately snuffs out. And her head whoosh, whips down in your direction. Down in your direction as you have attacked her. Okay. Top of the next round.
Attacked is a very generous word.
Tickled.
Okay. So top of the next round, Tisiphone is going to go first.
Oh, God.
Okay. Yeah, she is just going to reach her whip back and slash it down at you, Car. This is a 75% chance to hit.
Oh dear.
And I rolled a 69. Nice.
Nice.
Okay. You take 4 points of damage as you feel the whip itself just slash through your clothes and into your skin. And that is her attack for now. Navarro will turn towards you and will say, I warned you. Now you face Fury Tisiphone! And you face Suspiriorum, children! And you see racing now from the sides, from where these different groups of mirages were, all of those bat-faced creatures now are starting to charge in at this point, and where the body of Mater Suspiriorum is, where Carr is limping away with Dr. Marshall. And that is what's happening, basically, right? They're not going to get you just yet, but yeah. Okay. Then Ramirez is going to go, and he's going to... Oh, what is he going to do? I think he's just going to fire some more at Navarro just to get Navarro off of him. As you can tell, as Navarro shouted out to you, Carr, is like blood spurting from his mouth. As you do so, you see his old man face flicker. You see the biker flickers again. You see one of these bat-like creatures' face kind of emerge and blood just smeared across. And then, man, this guy is on fire. That's a 14. And then Ramirez just shoots a few more, and then Navarro just flops down. His eyes just sort of look up at you, but you can tell for a moment at least they seem lifeless. And then Ramirez kind of gets up and like looks over, and he sees Sarah, and he like makes to go in that direction, but that's his turn. Inferno, what are you doing?
Not stopping my sprint. Not looking back.
Still going way out in front. Okay. Then Chopra is also at this tier. Is Chopra just still running, you think?
Bat-like people coming for us too?
Currently, it seems like the ones that were, as you look over your shoulder, you can see that they are starting to descend now upon where that flying creature is, where the body of Mater Suspiriorum is, where Carr is trying to limp away with Marshall. That's where they seem to be headed. But you do see like little groups here and there, so it's possible that could change. But right this second, no, they're not coming at you.
Okay. In that case, I think we'll say Chopra keeps running.
Okay.
Is limping as fast as she can.
And running and running and running. Weaver, what are you up to? You've got you've got
I'm
Price.
not stopping.
Okay, so you guys are just running again. You're a little behind Inferno, but you're running and you're running and you're running. Okay. Marshall is trying to go. He's next to you. Help me. Help. Oh, God, it hurts. It hurts. Oh. And you can tell his arm is literally like bone. Part of his face is like bone. Like you can see it almost looks like a skeletal jaw, or cheek, I should say. Carr, it is then your turn. As he's letting you he's kind of limping along with you. He's ignoring these two Breckenridge folks. He is just going, but his leg has been withered, his arm has been withered, and half his face has been calcified. So he is moving very slowly. Carr, you just took a whip from this intestine thing, and she screeched. What do you want to do?
Carr sees this, like she recognizes what's going on. She sees that everyone else is running away. She knows that she's not going to be long for this situation, very likely.
You ran in and threw a big lighter at this thing. Okay. So what do you want to do?
So she wants to try to run in a direction that is not like other people are scattering. And so like whichever way that she can go that is not the same direction that they're scattering is where she would run.
Do you just want to like run off into the desert? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So kind of trying to like, if everyone's going towards
they're
her
running
because
back
she
to the
had
city,
maybe-
basically. Do you want to run out into the desert? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you leave Marshall behind?
I believe that Marshall is running in the direction toward the city, like the rest of the group is.
He was going whatever direction because you had helped him up and you had helped him move away. So he was going whatever direction you were sending him in. I just want to know, do you continue to try to help him, which means you're going to be going very slowly, or do you just let him go?
No, I tell him to go in the direction where everybody else is, and I go in a different direction.
Okay, so you turn and you run, and you're going off into the desert. You do see that some of these bat-like face creatures have broken off in your direction now. Okay, top of the round, Tisiphony's going to go. You can see that she just moves, doesn't flap wings, doesn't move her arms. She just moves. Have you ever seen Raised by Wolves? And you see like the mother from Raised by Wolves. I love that show. That's exactly how she's moving, with no clear understanding of how she seems to be propelling herself through the air. And she just moves and swoops down right next to Ramirez with the gun. And she is going to attempt 2 claw attacks. So she's got one arm, she's got the whip, and then with her other, she's just going to rake through him twice with her claw. All right. That is a 50 under 75, so that's going to hit. And then the second one is a 29, so that's going to hit. First claw does 8 points of damage. Second claw does 7 points of damage. So if you spare a second card to look over your shoulder, you see Tisiphony comes down and is like hovering over the ground right next to where Ramirez is. With the first rake of her claw, she just rips his arm clear off. And you see the gun just go flying. You hear, "Aah!" And then with the second, she just rakes right through his face. And you see the skin just wrenches free, and he flops to the ground dead. Then, one of these creatures is coming for you, Carr. So there's one of these creatures, these sand dwellers, we'll call them, comes rushing after you, and is going to. I'm going to attempt an athletics roll. Actually, no, I don't even need to do that because it's a flat surface. Okay, they seem to move with inhuman speed. They seem like they're moving as fast as a car, and they close in on you, and they're going to attempt to attack you. They have claws and a bite. I'm going to go. Yeah, they have bony claws, and then they have worry and rip. Okay, I have to do with a bite attack first. So yeah, I'm going to do the bite attack first then. Okay. So here we go. Okay. Trying to remember. You could... Do you have any, like, you don't have any armor or anything like that on you, right?
No, I do not.
Okay. So you could... You could fight back, but you lose your... You can fight back or you can dodge, but you lose your next action, I think. Wait, I'm trying to remember. God dang it.
That's correct.
That's correct, thank you.
Yep.
All right, I'm looking. Okay, so you could if you want, but it does mean that you wouldn't be able to run on the next round.
Okay, then I will take it because I would like to be able to run.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, it's a 97, so you will in fact miss as they come at you with a claw, and they do miss. So you are in fact okay.
And she's running.
Okay. Then we come over to the group
That's
of
what Car
Inferno.
says. Oh.
Okay.
Imagine she's like high stepping.
Inferno, you make it back to the edge of the city. You can see it looks different when you were last here. You were in the Cyclopean Plaza with all of the obelisks and with the monoliths and with the various billboards. But that's not what you see. Instead, you just see a suburban neighborhood, and you can see like some of the buildings, some of the homes look to be half built, and you can see a few what looks like RV or trailers kind of set up, but they're set up on like cinder blocks as if it's the actual home itself. Doesn't look familiar immediately to you. But that is what you see as you arrive. You look back over your shoulder and you are well ahead of everybody else. You can see Weaver and Price and Chopra are together a little bit further back. They're coming, but they're coming much more slowly. You can see that Price is becoming a bit of a burden for Weaver, and you can see that Chopra is kind of hopping and dragging along the way. You no longer see Carr at this point. So what do you do, Inferno?
Is Tisiphone still in view?
I would say with your alertness, you can probably see her, yeah.
Then I'll continue running through the suburban neighborhood. Okay,
absolutely. Weaver and... So I'll just turn it over to Weaver and Chopra together. You are together with Price. Do you continue to run as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
While I'm running, could I try and rack my brain to see, because he yelled some names, to see if I can recognize the names that Navarro yelled?
Sure. Give me a history test if you've got it.
Okay. I'd like to take 2 boosts. So I'm shooting for a 60.
Sure.
24.
Okay. Mater Suspiriorum and the Fury Tisiphone. Tisiphone was one of the Furies. Mater Suspiriorum is one of the kind of sort of the 3 kind of like weavers of fate in so ways. They're all like a triumvirate of women, sisters in many respects, and Tisiphone is more of like an avenging like fury in various mythologies. You would also might recognize Mater Suspiriorum, that one of the videos that you took, the only video that you took from the Delta Green box, was Suspiria, which has to do with someone by the name of Mater Suspiriorum, a coven of witches that has taken over a dance troupe. So it is a figure of myth. Okay. But you limp forward. Chopra is going along with, I assume. Okay. At this point, I'm going to say all of you are, for the moment, the four of you are, for the moment, out of danger. Carr comes around to you. Actually, no. Tisiphone goes first. Okay. Tisiphone is going to go attack. It's going to go attack. I think Win, excuse me. So she's going to, and Win is unconscious. And so what we basically see is like a whip comes down and just pulls the unconscious body of this Breckenridge agent. And then as it comes up in the air, she grabs it with one talon and just with her teeth just wrenches her apart, and blood just rains down as the 2 sides of Win's body falls to the ground. But she's still not moved that far. But don't worry, she can move really far. Okay, and then
oh no!
And then Carr. One of these is going to try to attack you again.
Okay.
Okay. Actually, wait. I skipped you. You should have gone before Tisiphone. My bad. What
okay. Carr will try to shoot at this thing that is attacking her and keep running. What? What is that face?
You're going to shoot and you're going to take a few steps. So you can't keep running. It's more of like you shoot and you take a handful of steps. You wouldn't run.
Oh,
Get a
okay.
headshot.
Okay. Then I'm going to keep
Certainly
running.
try.
I'm going to keep running. Running.
Okay. So you just run. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. It will chase after you. It will catch up to you without any issue, as it is much faster than you. It seems to move at preternatural speeds that seem to defy the concept of speed. Then it will attempt once more to bite you. Oh my god, 92. That's 2 rolls in the 90s as it misses you again.
Oh, thank goodness.
Okay. All right. It sucks because I have I have so many cool things I could do with them. Damn it. Okay. So it's racing
sure
after
you'll
you.
catch
It's
up to
trying
me.
to claw you. It has no trouble keeping up with you and being able to attack. It moves at basically 60 kilometers per hour. Basically, is how fast it goes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's closing in.
How fast is that in miles?
40-ish?
Less. Yeah, less because there's more kilometers in mile.
Yeah. Probably 40, 45-ish.
So it's like half. I don't know. 35.
It's fast. It's real fast. It's real
Bryce
fast.
can run 45 miles an hour, so I think.
No, not right now. He can't because he's in my control. Okay. Okay. So at this point, I'll say Weaver and Price and Chopra have all reached the city once more. You're kind of following a little bit further behind Inferno. All three of you, or at least anyone who can. So Weaver, you can. Chopra, you can. Give me an alertness test to see if you can see which way Inferno went.
I fail.
Okay.
10 success.
All right.
Which
Lisa, you do.
means that I get to check the box for alertness, right? So if I
Yeah,
live,
sure. No,
I mean,
you don't get to
Chopra
do it.
lives. This isn't
Chopra
you.
gets it. Chopra gets it, not Price. You're
Bryce
running
still gets to make the alertness test, right?
Okay. No, he doesn't. He didn't get to do anything. You got no control. Read the damn thing. You clipped it. The handler controls your agent until your willpower returns to 1 or higher. So an agent with
Was the
0
next
willpower
line?
cannot succeed at any tests, including sand tests.
So I
I'm in
fail this
charge.
test.
It says the handler controls your agent, and I have chosen not to make that test.
You know what, Jeff? I'm gonna check the box anyway.
I am going to say that Price navel gazes the entire thing. He just kind of looks down at his stomach the whole time and starts playing with his belly button. That's the whole thing as he's running. Okay. All right. So you do manage to keep up with Inferno. So I will say at this point, you all are kind of out of sight now as you push further back into the city of Tisiphone. You can still hear the occasional screech, the distant screech of her, but you can't see her just yet. Okay, so let me ask you guys a question. The three, well, actually, maybe the 4 of you technically: Inferno, Price, Weaver, and Chopra. What do you do? You're in the city. What do you want to do?
Leave.
How do you want to do that?
Run until something becomes recognizable, maybe an exit of some sort appears.
Okay, so you just want to keep running through the city until something recognizable appears. Okay. Weaver, do you have a different idea?
Oh god. Do I keep following, or do I try and duck into a building and then try and go through doors to get to different spots like we were doing?
So you asked Enrique how to get out, and he said you just walk out.
That's true.
For whatever
he
you
did.
can trust him. That was the answer that he gave you.
But what did he gesture towards when he said that?
It was like the desert, right?
The desert.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I think Chopra, with her broken leg, would not be able to move much further.
Okay.
I think her best bet would be to at least hole up in a building nearby and just take a breather.
Okay.
And just hope to hide for a moment.
Okay, so do you all do that?
Yeah.
I know, Inferno, you're running. You're up in front of them.
You're gone.
Yeah. So
Weaver would. Yeah.
Okay. So the three of you dip off into one of these buildings, and you just try to hunker down and hide. Fair enough. Car, this thing is on you and running. You see the desert extend out in front of you. You can see that Tisiphone, as you look past, like every now and then, you just look over your shoulder. You can see that there's just blood everywhere. You can see Marshall's kind of limping, but well behind you. And he's like, "Help me!" And he's kind of reaching out. What do you do, Car?
I mean, to the conversation that we just had, like, she thinks that she can just keep running. And so, like, the way out is running.
Okay. You start running, and you run, and you run. Give me a sand test.
Oh, dear. Rolling under 43. Got a 54. Failed.
Okay. You start running and running. You see the sand begin to ripple in front of you. You look over your shoulder and you see the thing chasing after you, and it sort of ripples and dissipates as well. Then you see Tisiphone turn, and while she is rippling and everything is kind of in this hazy view, much like you've seen with the buildings before, flies again until she's hovering over top of Marshall, and then she whips down at him. And with a 19 will succeed, and that's enough. That's going to be enough to kill him. As she whips down, and you can see the whip just wraps around his neck, and she just pulls up. Actually, it might not be enough to kill him. Yeah, that's enough. Pulls up, and you can just see right as she's pulling up, the head, and the body falls back down. You see the head, and then she's looking around. Right in your direction, and begins to move towards you. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
This other creature will once more close in on you, and despite its shimmering, is going to try to attack you once more.
Okay.
God damn it! That's a critical fail. 77. Comes rushing up and tries to sweep down at you, but in doing so collapses and falls prone. Okay. Inferno's still running. The rest of them are hiding. Car, what do you do?
Mars keeps running. Like, this thing has missed her so many times. She just keeps trying to just run.
Okay. You need to roll another sand test, please.
Okay. I failed the last one. Did anything happen as a result?
Nope.
It did. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss taking sand if I needed to. Failed.
Okay. You're running. You look back. Everything's shimmering even further and further until that creature that fell down on the ground that was attacking you, that bat-faced creature, turns into this sort of amorphous blob once more. You see the city in the distance begin to sort of shimmer, and then flits out of existence. You no longer see the creature. You no longer see Tisiphone. You no longer see the city. And you're running. And you're running. Give me a luck test.
Oh, gosh. 58.
As a fail. You run. And you run. And then as you turn back to face the way you were coming, you don't even see the ledge. And you just go over top of some rocky ledge. And we see car just disappear over the side. Meanwhile, back in the city.
Oh my gosh.
Inferno, you've been running, and eventually you once more see manifesting in front of you the pizzeria. It's the only thing that seems recognizable to you. When you were in here last, it wasn't an escape, but it is recognizable. So you're just running. But it's the first thing that it's one of the first things you recognize after you and Chopra came in. What do you want to do?
Since I recognize that I'll enter, but if it's like all watery, that'll probably scare me off.
You open the door, and it's a sheath of water, and you can see there is your mother. And you can see she's waving can barely see, like, her face isn't particularly discernible, but you can recognize kind of her body language and her shape as she's sort of waving and trying to gesture you to come inside.
Just seeing the sheer water amount puts me in a panic, so I'll run back out.
Okay. Give me a luck test.
$45.
Okay. In the distance, you can see between the seam of these skyscrapers, right? One of them is like half cut, but you can see a hill like up through around the 10th floor. Like you can kind of see the top where it's been sheared, and beyond it there's a tall ridge. And you can see it looks almost like a mountain range off beyond it. And you can see that the light is kind of flickering over there in some way. And you remember, you and Chopra, when you came through, you were on top of a ridge and had to descend down towards the city.
I'll see if the others are still chasing after me.
You look over your shoulder and you don't remember the last time you saw them. You're all alone as far as you know.
I'll run towards the shimmering.
Okay. You're running. Okay. Those of you inside, you've been catching a breather. Each of you, go ahead and roll a d4. Price, Weaver. This has been 5 minutes, maybe 10. You're not sure. Weaver, take a willpower back. 1 willpower back as you get a touch of a breather here.
2.
Price, you take 2 willpower back, which means you once more regain control of your character.
Ooh.
And then someone roll one for Stephen, can you roll another one for Chopra?
4.
Okay, so she can get 4 back as finally the pain
She was at max
subsides.
willpower.
Okay, so the 3 of you have been huddling inside of some home. You don't recognize it. It looks unfamiliar. It looks like something out of the 70s. There's just judging by, there's like this central sunken living room area. The colors, the wood paneling, all of it has like a very 70s vibe. And as you're all kind of catching your breath, you hear the sound of whoosh, and you see the roof over top of you peel back and like just get flung to the side, at least a huge chunk of it. And you can see hovering in the air above this building that you're in, there is the Tisiphone dripping blood down into you. It is your turn. It's going to be, let's see. I'll say Chopra will do whatever you guys do. So what's your...
Then has 16 dex.
Okay, well, it's your turn then, man.
Yeah, he would pull his gun, start shooting, I think.
Okay, you pull the gun, you start firing up. Go ahead and roll your attack.
54 is a success.
Okay.
Damage 9.
You fire up a couple shots, and you just see it go thump, thump, thump right into her torso, and then they just fall right back down into the ground, and you see them clink, clink, clink on the coffee table. She screams down at you again.
Oh, shit.
Weaver, what would you like to do?
Weaver runs.
Okay, you run. Do you take Chopra with you, or do you leave Chopra behind?
She yells for Chopra to run, but this time, Weaver just runs.
50-50 it. Okay, that's a 40, so yeah, she'll follow Weaver as best she can, and she'll call out to Price. Okay, so Inferno, give me an athletics test.
Okay, I have a 42, minus 20 penalty. A 13. Pass.
Okay.
Nice.
The ridge, climbing up this ridge is much harder than climbing down the ridge. And you find yourself getting kind of exhausted. But you come on top of it and you stand, take a breath. You look back and you see everything shimmering behind you. Once more, the city seems to be just kind of flickering in the distance. You hear the vague sound, the vague screech of Tisiphone, but it's barely audible at this point to you. Okay. Tisiphone will go next. And she will slash down with her whip at Price. All right. That is a 10.
What happened to the crit fails you were getting with Car? You were saving the good rolls for me?
It's law of averages. I rolled really bad over there.
90s?
I would have to roll extremely bad to miss with her. So you guys are fighting like... this is one of those things where I'm not sure you want to fight this thing.
This thing is amazing.
All right, so here we go. Minimum damage, at least 2 points of damage.
Okay.
As maybe
she did not
like
rip your head off.
Okay. Well, I rolled an 8 on the damage against Marshall, so that was enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Price, Price, it comes back to you. What would you like to do?
Shit. Clearly cannot kill her with a gun. I just drop the pistol and I try to run probably out like a back door, like not the same direction as Weaver and Chopra.
Okay. So you run in a different direction as Weaver and Chopra. Weaver is off in front. Chopra is following Weaver, but is a little bit further behind. And Price, you go out the back door, as we'll say Weaver and Chopra go out the front. Weaver, comes to your turn. You look over your shoulder. You see Tisiphone is like slashing down through the rip and the tear in the roof into that living room area. You hear the sounds of like gunfire maybe, and then you see Chopra like burst out the door following you, kind of limping, sweat pouring down her face. What do you do, Weaver?
She's just running.
Okay.
This is pure panic at this point.
Is there a particular direction that you run in?
Just as far away from this creature as she can. So like whatever direction makes the most sense to go to get away.
Okay.
She wouldn't like go back to go near it or anything.
Okay, fair enough. And Chopra will follow you. She'll continue to follow you. And she'll say, go, 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 as she's not even calling for you to follow. Okay. Inferno. You're on top of this ridge. You see the city flickering. You hear the sounds of the screeching Tisiphone. What do? You see the desert extending out in the other direction.
I'll follow into the desert.
Okay. You kind of half run, half limp. I mean, it's your muscles are burning at this point. You've been dead running for like at least 15 minutes at this point. You just climbed up the side of a mountain ridge. And as you look back over, you see and it disappears once more. Give me a luck test.
$58.
You rolled a 58 too.
And not unlike Car. Like you take a stumble. And yours isn't like immediate. You just take a stumble. You hear like your ankle, and then you thump, 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 and you go rolling down the other side of this ridge. One after the other, you go fall, thump, 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 and then you bang your head, and then everything goes black. Back inside the city of gloom, Tisiphone will chase after Vin. Vin, you just can feel the presence of her, and you look up. And she is just like chasing after you, just arms wide, flying in your direction. And then she will slash down with the whip once more. Do you try to dodge and give up your action, or?
No, I'm feeling pretty healthy, so we'll try to take it and see if that's a bad choice afterwards.
I did, in fact, miss this time with a 91, you pain in the ass.
Hey.
And so maybe you're running through that familiar playground you went through before, and it comes down and the whip gets caught on like these monkey bars, and she just wrenches it free, and you just hear the sounds of the earth exploding as she pulls the monkey bars right out of the earth and sails it across, and then as she calls down at you again in anger. Your turn. What do?
Keep running.
Give me an athletics test. As you are now at this point running through a debris field of playground toys, sand, dirt, broken half-formed buildings. Give me an athletics test as you try to run through.
37 under 63.
And you're like leaping over top of this. You run up one side of a seesaw, slide down the next. You run inside of this half-formed building. You see like the wall begin to shake, and you try to like slip through it. Weaver, you continue to run. At this point, you're confident that Tisiphone is not following you. Do you continue to just run at full pace, or do you like wait for Chopra, or do you just run and run?
Oh,
and run?
she's running.
Okay, off you go. Off you go. Okay. Comes around to Tisiphone once more. Okay. You run inside of this building, huh? Okay. Okay. She will. Do I want to do this? Yeah, she will. Since she can't quite get to you, as you did just such a sensational job running through this and dodging into this, she is instead going to use her horrifying screech, which you've heard, but now she's going to turn it up a notch. I need you to... Actually, wait, I need to roll first. That's a success. I need you to roll a con test, as when this time the screech comes, it is louder, it is deafening, and it seems to shake the very walls within which you are hiding. You definitely don't want to fail this. So this is you, Price.
Oh, I'm sorry. Contest?
Con. Yeah, roll con. Con times 5.
I'm a smoker, so I'm bad at con. That's a 78 over 45.
Oh.
Okay. Roll a d4.
1.
You lose that much willpower. As you feel you feel blood begin to start peeling, pouring out of your ears. You know she's nearby, but you can't see her currently. But you can hear her and you can feel her. It's your turn. What do you want to do?
Just keep bolting as fast as I can.
Give me another athletics test.
And I've got the minus 10 now because I'm at 1. Or is it minus 20 because I'm at 1? It's minus 20. So I need a 43. I got an 11. That is a critical success.
Ooh.
Okay. Critical success. I'm going to say you run and you like kind of have to go up what looks like stairs at one point. And as you come to the edge and you look like you're about to have nowhere to go, you see like this kind of down power line, or excuse me, down like a light post, and you manage to like just sort of balance beam it down. And as you do, you see extending out in front of you is the desert, and then you see what looks like a railroad track that heads in the opposite direction back into town. Do you want to race into the desert? Do you want to race down the railroad track? Do you want to turn around and try to 1v1 Tisiphone some more?
I don't want to 1v1. The question is, we still haven't figured out what happened to Jeremy. I think at this point, in all the chaos with the mental breaks, the temporary insanity, I think Vin would just be panicking, and I think he would just go towards the desert instead of thinking about Jeremy at this point.
So we see you just running off into the desert at this point. Weaver, you also come to the edge of the city. Maybe it's the same, maybe it's not, but you can see extending out in front of you, the desert extends. Do you continue to run? All right, you are being chased, so I'm going to resolve yours pretty quickly, and you guys went in opposite directions, so I think the chances of her catching up, Tisiphone turning around and catching up with you is next to null. And so you race and race. Give me a luck test as you finally get to the edge and you see the city flicker.
69. Fail, but nice.
Nice.
But nice, yeah. So as you turn and look, you see the city flicker. You take a couple steps, and the earth just gives way. And you just seem to fall. I'll say Chopra takes her a little bit longer, but she will as well. It's really just going to come down to this one roll. I got one more chance on Price as he is now out in the open. And she is going to attempt to whip him once more time. Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
That's a 47. That'll hit. So, damage-wise... God damn it. 3 points of damage this time.
That brings me down to 6 total.
Okay. She's got like a decent range. This whip is like 20, 25 feet in terms of range, but you see her behind you and she's screeching after you. Okay.
I told you I could run 45 miles an hour, though.
Okay, give me one more athletics test as you...
Wait, no, I already got a crit success.
That's how you got to the edge of the desert to begin with. Otherwise, I was going to have you do like 2 more.
We can't just roll that one over?
Yeah.
Okay, not a crit success, but it is a success. That's an 18 under 43.
You just start climbing up. Your fingers are bleeding. Your legs are burning. You get to the top of the ridge like Inferno. You look back. You see it flicker out of existence. Roll a luck test.
48. Pass.
You pass. And you're kind of like stopped at a cliff as you look down and you see it's about a 20-foot drop that you could have fall. You look back over your shoulder and you look down, look back over your shoulder, and the city is gone. One by one, all of you manage to escape the city. You manage to escape or outrun, at the very least, Tisiphone. A short while later, you're not really sure how long, Price, but you hear the sounds of... You look up, and you can see there's a helicopter flying overhead. What do you do, Price?
I immediately look for my gun to signal, and then realize that I threw it down in the city, and I'm not carrying it anymore. So I just pull off my white coat that's just brown with dust and red with blood, and I just start waving it as much energy as I can muster, which probably isn't much.
Okay. And the helicopter continues to just fly past you. We follow Price for a little while as he is in the desert, completely by himself. He doesn't see any sign of Weaver, any sign of Chopra or Inferno, no sign of Carr. And it is extremely hot. It is July. It is the summer. It is Arizona. It is 100+ degrees. You don't have any supplies on you either. You don't have any weapons or a handful of things in your pockets. And so we see this like just montage of him just going off in like some direction, right? Give me a survival test or navigation test, I should say.
Yeah, so for survival, I'm at
They're roughly
54.
the same.
Navigate 52. I guess survival then.
Yeah.
Which it's a good thing because 54 minus 20% is 34, and I rolled exactly a 34.
After some time, you're not sure, at least one day, as you remember the sun going down and then coming back up, you finally stumble and collapse onto something that doesn't feel like dirt or sand or rock. Instead, it feels like hot pavement. You're delirious. You can barely see anything. You haven't had anything to drink in some time. You hear a screech, and for a moment, Tisiphone. But as you look, you see what looks to be an old, beaten down Ford Bronco from decades past has come and stopped within about 10 feet of your head. And you can see 2 people have gone out, jeans on, boots. You can see one of them is wearing what looks like some kind of flannel, but with the arms cut off. It's just almost like a muscle shirt. And he kind of leans down next to you and kind of looks in your face, checking at you, looking at you. You all right there, buddy? You all right? You all right?
No.
Hey, Joseph, bring me some water. And you see, like the other set comes up next to you. you see like a second set of boots. What do you do?
I reach for my jacket, which has just been shredded at this point because it's been so long with me wandering. And I fumble inside for a business card. And I just feebly attempt to reach out and hold it up. And then I just collapse there. The business card being Lyda Hall's.
And so the second set of boots kneels down next to you, kind of offers you what looks to be some kind of thermos, kind of picks up this card. Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. You look up and you see the face of 50-something indigenous man. Hair long. He's got denim cut. He's got a couple missing teeth. You swear you've seen him before. And then you just black out. We're going to end there. And we'll pick up on that next time. All of you have escaped the city of gloom. But all of you ran into some misfortune on the way out. You okay, Ashley?
Holy crap.
Oh my god.
I love that
Ooh.
Melissa was like, I'm going to throw a Bic lighter at this thing.
Yeah.
I was
You all
like,
escaped at least. I didn't think y'all were going to
don't-
escape. I thought I was going to get one of you.
I don't think shooting is going to do something so.
And it did.
I don't think these bullets are going to do anything, but I think this small plastic disposable lighter is going to do something.
It's so
All right.
weird. Like the movies, you throw lighters and things just burn. And it just doesn't. Just
I don't think
happen
that's
that
true.
way.
I really don't think that's true.
I was going to
Thank
say in the
you.
movies, I always see the Bic lighters like blowing out when you need them to.
Yeah, exactly.
That is true. Flicking
Yeah.
it like 10 times before it goes. Holy
right.
crap, that city.
Let's go ahead and close it down for tonight. Let's do some closing plugs. We'll get on out of here. So, Steven, tell us what you got going on these days, man.
Yeah, I made a Weird West tabletop RPG called Huckleberry. You can check it out at huckleberryrpg.com. It's really cool. It's out now on Drive-Thru RPG. You should definitely check it out.
Fantastic. Well done. Well done. As for the rest of us, well, first let's say my Trey's not here, but all of you should go check out My Trey Plays Games, where all sorts of various discussions and videos centering the GM and player experience. Link will be
agnostic.
System agnostic too. Thank you. I forgot about system agnostic. So definitely check out the links in the video description if you want to see more of My Trey's work. As for us, next game is tomorrow. We're going to be playing some Call of Cthulhu. We are back in Bangkok. We'll see what Ashley's new character is going to be. Very excited. Monday, we're going to go ahead and we're going to be doing a special little one-shot of Skin City. Our buddy Chuck has got a game up on Kickstarter. He's going to give us a little taste of it on Monday. Tuesday, Steven hops back in the GM seat as we are playing through some Star Trek adventures. And next Thursday, we are back to Arzium. And Friday next week will be Dragonbane, and then we will be back in 2 weeks with more deltagreen, and we'll see what fate befell all of these members of G-Cell. That's all we got. Let's go ahead and raid somebody. We're going to raid Lost Tribes Gaming. Looks like they're still up and playing because that's, it's pretty late. So let's go ahead and give them a raid. I think we had one earlier. Didn't we have a raid earlier?
High Shelf Collective.
High Shelf Collective, thank you so much for the raid. I was in the middle of screeching my throat, so I didn't call it out. But thank you so much for the raid. But that's it for everybody. We're going to get out of here. We'll see y'all later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
So.
Bye.